Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. We're so happy you're joining us today. Today is something a little special. Instead of focusing on just one episode, we're going to take you through the entire job interview series from beginning to end.
That's right. From Rebecca's first nervous moments walking into the interview room, all the way through her interview journey, you'll be able to follow the whole story in one lesson.
And we have something exciting for you. So far, you've seen episodes 1 through 8 on our channel.
But today, for the very first time, we'll also be premiering episode 9, the final chapter of Rebecca's interview.
So if you've been wondering how everything ends, be sure to stay with us until the very end.
This is the perfect opportunity to review everything you've learned. As you hear the story again, you'll naturally reinforce useful vocabulary, practical interview expressions, and real conversational English.
One thing that makes this series so enjoyable is that each episode builds naturally on the previous one. You'll follow Rebecca as she discusses her background, education, work experience, strengths, weaknesses, and much more before finally reaching the interview's conclusion.
Even if you've already watched episodes 1 through 8, listening again will help you notice expressions and details you may have missed the first time.
Remember, becoming fluent isn't just about learning something once, it's about hearing it again and again until it becomes natural.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy Rebecca's interview journey from beginning to end.
All right, let's go back to where it all began.
Rebecca has just arrived for her second interview with Mr. Parsons. She's about to make her first impression, and every word matters.
All right, now let's begin with episode 1.
Come in.
Mr. Parsons?
Ah, you must be Rebecca. Please do come in.
Thank you for making some time to see me, Mr. Parsons. It's a pleasure to meet you finally.
The pleasure's all mine, Rebecca. Have a seat, please. Now, would you like any refreshments, tea or coffee?
A coffee would be lovely, thank you. Black, no sugar.
No problem. Sally, can we have 2 coffees, please? 1, no milk or sugar.
Certainly, Mr. Parsons.
So, Rebecca, I understand you had a first interview with Miss Childs last week?
Yes, that's correct. She filled me in on the details of the job on the telephone.
Great. Well, I'm glad to say she recommended you for a second interview, and here we are. Perhaps we can start by discussing your background and resume details a little.
Yes, of course.
That sounded like a very professional and polite interview.
Definitely. I really liked how both people used formal but natural English throughout the conversation.
Yeah! Rebecca sounded nervous, but also very respectful and prepared.
And Mr. Parsons created a comfortable atmosphere by offering coffee and speaking in a friendly way.
That's actually very common in professional interviews. Small talk at the beginning can help people relax a little.
Exactly. And there were also several useful business expressions in today's dialogue.
All right, let's take a closer look at some important phrases and vocabulary from this conversation.
Let's start with the expression, please do come in.
Please do come in.
Please do come in.
This is a very polite and welcoming expression that someone uses when inviting another person into a room, office, or building. In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, you must be Rebecca. Please do come in. Basically, he's warmly inviting her into his office.
Right. And the really important thing here is the word do. Normally, we would simply say, please come in. But when native speakers add do like this, please do come in, it adds extra warmth, politeness, sincerity, or emphasis.
Exactly. This use of do is called an emphatic do. It doesn't change the basic meaning of the sentence, but it strengthens the feeling behind it.
So, please come in sounds polite already, but please do come in sounds even more welcoming and courteous.
Right. It can also make the speaker sound more elegant or formal, which fits this interview situation perfectly.
Native speakers often use this emphatic do in polite invitations or when they want to sound especially sincere.
For example, someone might say, do sit down instead of simply sit down, or do enjoy yourself instead of just enjoy yourself.
Exactly. And in these cases, the speaker is not giving a stronger command. Actually, it often sounds softer and more polite.
Here's an example. Please do let me know if you need anything. This means, I sincerely want you to tell me if you need help or assistance. The do adds warmth and reassurance.
Here's another one. Do be careful on your way home. This means the speaker genuinely cares about the other person's safety.
So in today's dialogue, when Mr. Parsons says, please do come in, he's not just allowing Rebecca to enter the office. He's creating a friendly and professional atmosphere from the very beginning.
All right, now let's move on to the phrase, it's a pleasure to meet you finally.
It's a pleasure to meet you finally.
It's a pleasure to meet you finally.
The expression, pleasure to do something, is a very polite and professional way to say that you are happy or honored to do something.
Right. And in the dialogue, Rebecca says, thank you for making some time to see me, Mr. Parsons. It's a pleasure to meet you finally. She means that she's genuinely happy to finally meet him in person.
Exactly. The word finally is important too. It suggests that they already knew about each other before this moment, probably through emails, phone calls, or the first interview process.
So she's saying something like, I'm happy that we finally have the chance to meet face to face.
This phrase is extremely common in professional situations, business meetings, networking events, and formal introductions.
And native speakers often use pleasure in polite expressions because it sounds respectful and professional.
For example, it's a pleasure to work with you. That means, I'm very happy and honored to work together with you.
Or, it was a pleasure speaking with you. That's a very natural way to end a business call or formal conversation.
Here's another example. It's a pleasure to be here today. This means the speaker feels honored and happy to attend the event or meeting.
And compared to simply saying, nice to meet you, it's a pleasure to meet you sounds more formal and professional.
So, Rebecca's English here sounds very polished and appropriate for a job interview.
All right, next, let's look at the expression, the pleasure's all mine.
The pleasure's all mine.
The pleasure's all mine.
This is a very common polite response when someone says, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Right. In the dialogue, Rebecca says, it's a pleasure to meet you finally. And Mr. Parsons replies, the pleasure's all mine, Rebecca.
Basically, he means, no, I'm actually the one who feels honored or happy to meet you.
Exactly. It's a humble and friendly response. Instead of simply saying thank you, he returns the compliment politely.
And notice that the expression literally means all of the pleasure belongs to me.
Of course, he doesn't literally mean only he is happy. It's just a polite way to express friendliness and respect.
Native speakers commonly use this expression in business situations, formal introductions, interviews, and networking events.
Here's an example. Thank you for inviting me today. The pleasure's all mine. In other words, I'm very happy you came.
Here's another example. It was wonderful meeting you. The pleasure was all mine. Again, the speaker is politely returning the positive feeling.
And notice something important. Sometimes people say, the pleasure is mine, and sometimes, the pleasure's all mine. Both are natural, but adding all makes it sound slightly warmer and more enthusiastic.
So, in today's dialogue, Mr. Parsons is helping Rebecca feel comfortable and welcome by responding warmly and professionally.
All right. Finally, let's take a look at the word refreshments.
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 In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons asks, would you like any refreshments, tea or coffee? Here, refreshments means light drinks or small snacks offered to guests.
Right. In many professional or formal situations, refreshments usually means things like coffee, tea, water, juice, cookies, or small snacks.
The important thing is that refreshments usually refers to light food and drinks, not a full meal.
Exactly. And offering refreshments is a very common way to make guests feel comfortable and welcome.
You'll often hear this word in offices, hotels, meetings, conferences, waiting rooms, or events.
For example, refreshments will be served after the presentation. That means drinks and light snacks will be available later.
Or, please help yourself to some refreshments. This means guests are free to take drinks or snacks.
Here's another example. The hotel provided complimentary refreshments in the lobby. In other words, the hotel offered free drinks or snacks for guests.
And in today's dialogue, offering coffee helps create a relaxed and professional interview atmosphere.
Exactly. It's a small gesture, but it can help reduce nervousness and make the conversation feel more comfortable.
All right. Now that we've broken down those expressions carefully, let's listen to the dialogue one more time and see how naturally they're used in context.
Come in.
Mr. Parsons?
Ah, you must be Rebecca. Please do come in.
Thank you for making some time to see me, Mr. Parsons. It's a pleasure to meet you finally.
The pleasure's all mine, Rebecca. Have a seat, please. Now, would you like any refreshments, tea, or coffee?
A coffee would be lovely, thank you. Black, no sugar.
No problem. Sally, can we have 2 coffees, please? 1, no milk or sugar.
Certainly, Mr. Parsons.
So, Rebecca, I understand you had a first interview with Miss Childs last week?
Yes, that's correct. She filled me in on the details of the job on the telephone.
Great. Well, I'm glad to say she recommended you for a second interview, and here we are. Perhaps we can start by discussing your background and resume details a little.
Yes, of course.
Listening to the conversation again, I noticed how natural and smooth the flow of the interview was.
I noticed that too. Nobody sounded overly formal or robotic.
Right. Professional English doesn't always mean using difficult words. Sometimes, simple and polite expressions are the most effective.
And Rebecca did a good job responding clearly and confidently.
Also, expressions like, "the pleasure's all mine," and "filled me in," are very useful in real-life conversations.
Absolutely. Those phrases can make your English sound much more natural and professional.
All right, let's move on to our second phrase and vocabulary breakdown.
Let's start with the expression, "a coffee would be lovely."
A coffee would be lovely.
A coffee would be lovely.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "A coffee would be lovely, thank you. Black, no sugar." She's politely accepting Mr. Parsons' offer of a drink.
Right. And the really important point here is the word would.
Exactly. Native speakers very often use would in polite situations because it sounds softer, less direct, and more elegant than simply using will or the present tense.
For example, compare these 2 sentences. Coffee is lovely and coffee would be lovely. The second one sounds much more polite and natural in a professional conversation.
Right. Rebecca is not making a general statement about coffee. She means, in this situation, having a coffee sounds very nice.
So here, would creates a softer, more hypothetical feeling.
Exactly. It makes the response sound gentle and appreciative instead of blunt.
Native speakers use would all the time in polite requests, offers, invitations, and responses.
For example, "that would be great," or "I would appreciate that," or even, "a glass of water would be nice."
And notice something important. Rebecca could have simply said, "Coffee, please." That's not rude, but "a coffee would be lovely" sounds much warmer, calmer, and more professional.
Here's another example. "A few more minutes would be helpful." This means, "I would appreciate having a little more time."
And then Rebecca adds, "Black, no sugar." That's simply specifying how she wants her coffee prepared.
So overall, her English sounds smooth, polite, and professional, which is perfect for a job interview setting.
All right. Next, let's take a look at the phrasal verb, fill someone in.
Fill someone in.
Fill someone in.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "She filled me in on the details of the job on the telephone." Basically, she means that Miss Childs explained the important information about the job to her.
Exactly. The phrasal verb fill someone in means to give someone missing information or update them on a situation.
Right. It's very commonly used when one person already knows something and another person needs the details.
For example, if you miss a meeting, your coworker might say, "I'll fill you in later." That means, "I'll explain everything you missed."
Or imagine your friend arrives late and asks what happened. You might say, "Let me fill you in." In other words, let me explain the situation.
This expression is extremely common in workplaces, offices, team projects, and everyday conversations.
And grammatically, notice the structure. We usually say, fill someone in on something.
Exactly. In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "She filled me in on the details of the job." The details of the job is the information she received.
Here's another example. Can you fill me in on what happened yesterday? This means, can you explain the information I missed?
Or, "Before the meeting starts, let me fill you in." Again, the speaker wants to update someone.
And notice something important. Fill someone in sounds conversational and natural. In very formal business English, people might instead say, brief someone, or update someone.
Right. But in everyday professional English, fill someone in is extremely natural and useful.
So Rebecca sounds professional, but still relaxed and natural.
All right. Now let's move on to the word background.
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 In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "Perhaps we can start by discussing your background and resume details a little."
Here, background refers to a person's past experience, education, work history, skills, and overall professional history.
Exactly. In a job interview, when someone asks about your background, they usually want to know things like where you studied, what kind of jobs you've had, and what experience you bring.
Right. It does not mean physical background here, like the background of a photo.
Exactly. English uses background in several ways, but in business situations, it often means someone's history or experience.
For example, she has a background in marketing. That means she has education or experience related to marketing.
Here's another example. He comes from a technical background. In other words, his previous experience or training is related to technology or engineering.
And notice something important. Background is broader than resume.
Exactly. A resume is the actual document, but your background includes your overall experiences, education, skills, and professional story.
So when Mr. Parsons says, "Perhaps we can start by discussing your background and resume details a little," he's basically saying, let's begin by talking about your experience and qualifications.
And the word perhaps also helps soften the sentence and make it sound polite and professional.
All right. Finally, let's look at the expression, "I'm glad to say."
I'm glad to say.
I'm glad to say.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "I'm glad to say she recommended you for a second interview."
Basically, he means, "I'm happy to tell you this good news."
Exactly. I'm glad to say is commonly used when the speaker is pleased or happy to announce something.
And it often introduces positive information.
For example, "I'm glad to say the project was successful," or "I'm glad to say everyone arrived safely."
So in today's dialogue, Mr. Parsons is telling Rebecca that Miss Childs recommended her to continue in the interview process.
And notice the difference between "it's a pleasure to do something" and "I'm glad to do something."
Right. Pleasure often sounds more formal, elegant, and relationship-focused.
Exactly. For example, "It's a pleasure to meet you" focuses on politeness and respect during an interaction.
But glad is more emotional and personal. It simply means happy.
Right. "I'm glad to help" sounds friendly and sincere, but less formal than "it's my pleasure to help."
Here's another example. "I'm glad to hear that." That means the speaker feels happy about the information they just received.
Or, "I'm glad to be part of the team." Again, this expresses genuine happiness or appreciation.
So in the dialogue, "I'm glad to say" helps Mr. Parsons sound warm and encouraging while delivering positive news.
All right, Now that we've carefully broken down all of today's expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time and focus on how naturally these phrases are used together.
Come in.
Mr. Parsons?
Ah, you must be Rebecca. Please do come in.
Thank you for making some time to see me, Mr. Parsons. It's a pleasure to meet you finally.
The pleasure's all mine, Rebecca. Have a seat, please. Now, would you like any refreshments, tea, or coffee?
A coffee would be lovely, thank you. Black, no sugar.
No problem. Sally, can we have 2 coffees, please? 1, no milk or sugar.
Certainly, Mr. Parsons.
So, Rebecca, I understand you had a first interview with Miss Childs last week?
Yes, that's correct. She filled me in on the details of the job on the telephone.
Great. Well, I'm glad to say she recommended you for a second interview, and here we are. Perhaps we can start by discussing your background and resume details a little.
Yes, of course.
Great job. That was the beginning of Rebecca's interview.
She made a strong first impression by being polite, professional, and confident. Those first few minutes of an interview can be incredibly important.
We also learned some useful expressions for greeting someone, offering refreshments, and talking about previous conversations and interviews.
Now that the introductions are over, it's time for Mr. Parsons to learn more about Rebecca herself.
In the next episode, Rebecca talks about her background, where she grew up, and how living in different countries shaped her life.
You'll also hear some excellent expressions for introducing yourself and giving a clear overview of your personal background, something that's very common in job interviews.
So, let's continue Rebecca's interview journey.
Here's episode 2.
Now, Miss Childs passed on your resume to me, and I've had a chance to look it over. I must say, I'm quite impressed.
Thank you very much. I've tried to keep it short and clear. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Well, yes, I do have a number of questions, but perhaps first you could give me a brief overview. I'd like to get a little bit of an idea of your background.
Yes, of course. Well, as you can see from the resume, I'm 27 and grew up in Brooklyn, New York, although our family moved to London when I was quite young, at around 16.
Ah, I see. So you were actually educated in Europe?
Yes, precisely. Although I was born in the US, I would definitely call London home. But as you see, I've actually spent a lot of my life moving from country to country. My father was in the oil business before he retired, so we also spent a number of years in Saudi Arabia too.
Very interesting. So it seems you had quite an adventurous childhood.
Absolutely. We were never still for too long, but now I'm really looking to settle down.
I see. Okay, well, let's move on to discuss your education, shall we?
Sure.
That was a really interesting conversation. Rebecca has certainly lived in a lot of different places.
She has. Growing up in New York, moving to London, and even spending time in Saudi Arabia must have given her a very unique perspective on life.
And I liked how naturally she explained her background. She didn't give overly long answers, but she still shared enough information to keep the conversation engaging.
Right. That's actually a valuable interview skill. You want to give meaningful answers without turning every response into a 5-minute story.
Exactly. And we also heard several useful expressions related to personal background, education, and life experience.
All right. Let's break down some of those key phrases and vocabulary items from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the phrasal verb, look over.
Look over.
Look over.
This is a very useful phrasal verb. To look over something means to check it, review it, or examine it. Usually not in an extremely deep or detailed way, but carefully enough to understand the main points.
Right. In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, Miss Childs passed on your resume to me, and I've had a chance to look it over.
This means that Miss Childs gave Rebecca's resume to Mr. Parsons, and Mr. Parsons has already had time to read through it and review it.
Exactly. He's not saying he studied every single word for hours. He means he checked the resume, read the important parts, and got a general understanding of Rebecca's background.
And that's why look over is perfect here. It sounds natural in business situations when you review a document, report, contract, application, resume, or email.
For example, could you look over this report before I send it? This means, could you check this report and see if everything looks okay?
Right. The speaker is not necessarily asking for a full rewrite. They just want another person to review it and catch any problems.
Here's another example. I looked over your proposal and it looks very strong. This means, I reviewed your proposal and I think it is well done.
And one more example. Please look over the contract carefully before you sign it. In this case, look over means to review the contract and make sure you understand it before signing.
So in today's dialogue, I've had a chance to look it over means Mr. Parsons has already reviewed Rebecca's resume and formed a positive impression.
Exactly. It's a very natural phrase for interviews and workplace conversations.
So, after he looked over her resume, he was impressed.
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 Impressed means that you have a strong positive feeling about someone or something because it is good, skillful, interesting, professional, or better than expected.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "And I must say, I'm quite impressed."
This means that after looking over Rebecca's resume, he thinks her background, experience, and overall qualifications are very strong.
Right. The phrase "I must say" adds emphasis. It sounds like he genuinely wants to point out his positive reaction.
And quite impressed means fairly or very impressed. In this context, it sounds like a strong compliment, but still professional and controlled.
Exactly. In a job interview, if the interviewer says, "I'm quite impressed," that's definitely a good sign.
For example, I was impressed by your presentation. This means the presentation was strong, clear, or professional, and it left a positive impression.
Another example is, the manager was impressed with her leadership skills. This means her leadership skills stood out in a positive way.
And here's one more. I'm really impressed by how quickly you learned the system. This means the speaker thinks the person learned something quickly and effectively.
Notice that we often say impressed by something or impressed with something.
Right. Both are common. I was impressed by your work and I was impressed with your work are both natural.
So in the dialogue, Mr. Parsons is basically saying, "Your resume looks very good, and I have a positive opinion of you already."
All right, now let's move on to the expression, feel free to do something.
Feel free to do something.
Feel free to do something.
This expression means, please do it if you want to, or you are welcome to do it. It gives the other person permission in a friendly and polite way.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask me.
This means, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. She is politely showing that she is open and ready to answer.
Exactly. It sounds professional, confident, and cooperative.
And that's important in an interview. Rebecca is not just waiting passively. She is showing that she is prepared and willing to explain her background.
Feel free to is very common in business English, customer service, emails, meetings, and polite conversations.
For example, please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. This means, you are welcome to contact me anytime if something is unclear.
Another example is, feel free to take a seat. This means, you can sit down if you want to.
And one more, feel free to use the conference room this afternoon. This means the person has permission to use the conference room.
A similar expression is don't hesitate to. For example, don't hesitate to ask me any questions.
Right. Please feel free to ask me and please don't hesitate to ask me are very close in meaning.
But feel free to sounds a little warmer and more relaxed, while don't hesitate to can sound slightly more formal.
So in today's dialogue, Rebecca sounds polite, open, and professional by saying, please feel free to ask me.
All right. Next, let's look at the expression, a number of.
A number of.
A number of.
A number of means several or quite a few. We use it when we are talking about multiple people, things, or years.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, I do have a number of questions. This means I have several questions.
Right. And Rebecca later says, we also spent a number of years in Saudi Arabia. This means we spent several years in Saudi Arabia.
So a number of is useful because it sounds a little more formal and polished than just saying some or several.
Exactly. It fits very naturally in interviews and professional conversations.
For example, we received a number of applications for the position. This means the company received several applications.
Another example is, there are a number of reasons why this project was successful. This means there are several reasons.
And one more. She has worked with a number of international clients. This means she has worked with several different international clients.
Now, one important point. A number of and the number of are different.
Yes. A number of means several, and it is followed by a plural noun and a plural verb.
But the number of means the actual amount or total number of something. It is usually followed by a singular verb. For example, the number of employees is increasing. This means the total number is going up.
So compare these two sentences carefully. A number of students are absent. That means several students are absent.
But the number of students is high means the total number of students is high.
Great distinction. In the dialogue, both examples use a number of, meaning several.
Right. A number of questions means several questions, and a number of years means several years.
All right. Now that we've gone through these important expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time and pay close attention to how they're used in context.
Now, Miss Childs passed on your resume to me, and I've had a chance to look it over. I must say, I'm quite impressed.
Thank you very much. I've tried to keep it short and clear. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Well, yes, I do have a number of questions, but perhaps first you could give me a brief overview. I'd like to get a little bit of an idea of your background.
Yes, of course. Well, as you can see from the resume, I'm 27 and grew up in Brooklyn, New York, although our family moved to London when I was quite young, at around 16.
Ah, I see. So you were actually educated in Europe?
Yes, precisely. Although I was born in the US, I would definitely call London home. But as you see, I've actually spent a lot of my life moving from country to country. My father was in the oil business before he retired, so we also spent a number of years in Saudi Arabia too.
Very interesting. So it seems you had quite an adventurous childhood.
Absolutely. We were never still for too long, but now I'm really looking to settle down.
I see. Okay, well, let's move on to discuss your education, shall we?
Sure.
Listening to the dialogue again, I noticed how comfortable the conversation felt, even though it was still a formal interview.
I noticed that too. It sounded professional, but it also felt like a genuine conversation between two people.
Exactly. Good interviewers often try to create that kind of atmosphere. They want candidates to relax, so they can get a better sense of who they really are.
And Rebecca did a good job sharing personal information while still keeping her answers relevant to the interview.
Right? She wasn't just listing facts. She was giving Mr. Parsons a clearer picture of her experiences and personality.
And that's something listeners can learn from as well when talking about their own background in English.
All right, let's continue with our second phrase and vocabulary breakdown.
Now let's start with the phrase, brief overview.
Brief overview.
Brief overview.
This is a very useful phrase, especially in business English, interviews, presentations, and meetings. Let's break it down into two parts.
First, brief means short or not taking too much time. If something is brief, it gives only the necessary information.
Right. An overview means a general explanation or a big picture summary of something. It doesn't go into every small detail.
So when we put them together, a brief overview means a short general explanation of the main points.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "Perhaps first you could give me a brief overview."
This means, before we go into detailed questions, could you quickly summarize your background for me?
Exactly. He doesn't want Rebecca to tell her entire life story in great detail right away. He wants a short introduction so he can understand the general picture first.
And notice how polite the sentence is. He says, perhaps first you could. This sounds very soft and professional.
Right. Instead of saying, give me an overview, he says, perhaps first you could give me a brief overview. That sounds much more polite and interview-friendly.
For example, could you give us a brief overview of your work experience? This means, please summarize your work experience in a short and clear way.
Another example is, before we start, I'll give you a brief overview of today's meeting. This means the speaker will quickly explain the main topics of the meeting.
So in today's dialogue, Mr. Parsons is asking Rebecca to briefly introduce her background before he asks more specific questions.
All right. Next, let's look at the word precisely.
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 Precisely means exactly, completely correctly, or that's right.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons asks, so you were actually educated in Europe? And Rebecca answers, yes, precisely.
This means, yes, that's exactly right. She is confirming that Mr. Parsons understood correctly.
Right. She was born in the U.S., but because she moved to London when she was young, much of her education took place in Europe.
So when she says, yes, precisely, she is not just saying yes. She is saying, yes, that is exactly what I mean.
Precisely sounds a little more formal and polished than simply saying exactly.
Right. In everyday casual conversation, many people might say, exactly. But in a professional conversation, precisely can sound intelligent, clear, and confident.
For example, that is precisely what I was trying to say. This means, that is exactly the point I wanted to make.
Another example is, we need to know precisely when the shipment will arrive. This means, we need to know the exact time or date.
So in the dialogue, yes, precisely is a polished way for Rebecca to confirm Mr. Parsons' understanding.
All right, now let's move on to the word adventurous.
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 Adventurous describes someone or something connected to adventure, new experiences, excitement, risk, or unusual situations.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, so it seems you had quite an adventurous childhood.
This means he thinks Rebecca's childhood was full of movement, change, travel, and unusual experiences.
Exactly. She grew up in Brooklyn, moved to London, and also spent time in Saudi Arabia because of her father's work.
So her childhood was not ordinary or settled in one place. It was international, active, and probably full of new cultures and new environments.
The phrase quite an adventurous childhood means a rather adventurous childhood, or a very interesting and unusual childhood.
Right. And here, adventurous has a positive feeling. Mr. Parsons is showing interest in her life story.
For example, she has an adventurous personality. This means she likes trying new things and is not afraid of new experiences.
Another example is, they went on an adventurous trip through South America. This means the trip involved exciting, unusual, or challenging experiences.
So in today's dialogue, Mr. Parsons is saying Rebecca's childhood sounds exciting, international, and full of change.
All right. Next, let's look at the adjective still.
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 Many learners know still as an adverb like, I'm still waiting, or she still lives there.
Right. But in today's dialogue, still is used as an adjective.
As an adjective, still means not moving, quiet, or staying in one place.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, we were never still for too long.
This means her family never stayed in one place for a long time. They were always moving from place to place.
Exactly. She doesn't mean they were physically running around all the time. She means their life was not settled in one location.
So, "We were never still for too long" is a natural and slightly expressive way to say, "We moved around a lot."
For example, "Please stay still while I take the photo." This means, don't move.
Another example is, "The room was completely still." This means the room was quiet and nothing was moving.
And one more. "He can't sit still for more than 5 minutes." This means he has trouble staying in one place without moving.
In Rebecca's case, still connects to her life experience. Her family was constantly relocating, so they were never still for very long.
That makes the sentence sound more natural and vivid than simply saying, "We moved a lot."
Finally, let's look at the phrasal verb, settle down.
Settle down.
Settle down.
Settle down has a few meanings, but in today's dialogue, it means to start living a calmer, more stable life in one place.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "But now I'm really looking to settle down."
This means that after moving from country to country for many years, she now wants to stay in one place and build a more stable life.
Exactly. She's saying, "I've had a lot of movement and change in my life, but now I want stability."
Settle down can be used when someone stops moving around, finds a long-term home, starts a stable job, or begins a more steady lifestyle.
For example, after years of traveling, he finally settled down in London. This means he stopped traveling so much and started living a stable life in London.
Another example is, they want to settle down and start a family. This means they want to build a stable life together, often with marriage, children, or a long-term home.
And one more. "I'm tired of moving from city to city. I want to settle down somewhere quiet." This means the speaker wants to stop moving and live in one place.
But be careful. Settle down can also mean calm down, especially when talking to children or a group of people.
For example, "Settle down, everyone. The class is starting." That means, please become quiet and calm.
Right. But in today's dialogue, it does not mean calm down. It means Rebecca wants to create a stable life and stop moving so much.
So this phrase connects perfectly to her story. She had an adventurous childhood, but now she wants something more settled and stable.
All right. Now that we've explored these expressions in detail, let's listen to the dialogue one final time and focus on how naturally they appear in the conversation.
Now, Miss Childs passed on your resume to me, and I've had a chance to look it over. I must say, I'm quite impressed.
Thank you very much. I've tried to keep it short and clear. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Well, yes, I do have a number of questions, but perhaps first you could give me a brief overview. I'd like to get a little bit of an idea of your background.
Yes, of course. Well, as you can see from the resume, I'm 27 and grew up in Brooklyn, New York, although our family moved to London when I was quite young, at around 16.
Ah, I see. So you were actually educated in Europe?
Yes, precisely. Although I was born in the US, I would definitely call London home. But as you see, I've actually spent a lot of my life moving from country to country. My father was in the oil business before he retired, so we also spent a number of years in Saudi Arabia too.
Very interesting. So it seems you had quite an adventurous childhood.
Absolutely. We were never still for too long, but now I'm really looking to settle down.
I see. Okay, well, let's move on to discuss your education, shall we?
Sure.
In episode 2, we learned more about Rebecca's background and childhood.
That's right. She explained where she grew up, why she moved between different countries, and how those experiences helped shape the person she is today.
Talking about your background is a common part of almost every job interview, so those expressions are definitely worth remembering.
But of course, an interviewer wants to know more than just where you've lived. They also want to learn about your education and the experiences that prepared you for the job.
In the next episode, Rebecca talks about her university life, her degree, and some meaningful activities outside the classroom.
You'll hear natural ways to describe your major, academic achievements, volunteer work, and other experiences that can make a great impression in an interview.
Let's see how Rebecca introduces the next chapter of her story.
Here's episode 3.
Now, if I look here, I see that you completed a BA in English.
Yes, that's right. After graduating from high school in New York, I attended York University in the UK. My major was English, and my minor was business. I completed my BA in 2004.
Yes, I'm pleased to see that you also got a distinction.
Yes, that's right. I've always enjoyed studying. My friends say I'm a bit of a bookworm, but my father always pushed us to succeed at school.
Well, it looks like his encouragement paid off, Rebecca. So how about extracurricular activities at university?
Well, I've always been keen on writing, so I became the editor for the university student newspaper, which I really loved. Also, I volunteered for a group called Shelter to help the homeless in New York,
What did that involve?
providing warm meals and shelter, especially in the winter months. I found it really fulfilling to be part of that group.
I'm sure. Okay, now let's move on to your work experience, shall we?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That was a really interesting conversation. Rebecca certainly seems like a strong candidate.
I agree. She doesn't just talk about her degree, she also highlights her volunteer work and leadership experience.
Yes, being the editor of a student newspaper shows responsibility, communication skills, and initiative.
And volunteering to help homeless people demonstrates compassion and community involvement. Employers often appreciate that kind of experience.
Absolutely. It's also nice to hear how confidently she talks about her academic achievements without sounding arrogant.
Good point. All right, now let's take a closer look at some useful words and expressions from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the abbreviation BA.
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 A BA stands for Bachelor of Arts. It's a university degree, usually given for subjects like English, history, philosophy, languages, communication, and other humanities or liberal arts subjects.
In the dialogue, the interviewer says, "Now, if I look here, I see that you completed a BA in English."
This means he is looking at Rebecca's resume and noticing that she finished a university degree in English.
Exactly. Completed a BA means she finished the required university program and earned the degree.
And in English tells us the subject of the degree. So a BA in English means a Bachelor of Arts degree with English as the main field of study.
A simple example would be, she completed a BA in history. That means she studied history at university and successfully earned a Bachelor of Arts degree.
Another example is, he has a BA in communication. That means communication was his academic field, and he graduated with that degree.
In job interviews, this expression is very useful because interviewers often talk about your educational background.
Yes, you might say, I completed a BA in English, or I have a BA in business studies.
The next word is major.
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 Your major is your main subject at university. It's the field you focus on the most.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "My major was English, and my minor was business."
This means English was her main subject, and business was her secondary subject.
Exactly. Now the word minor is also important here. A minor is a second subject that you study, but not as deeply as your major.
So, Rebecca mainly studied English, but she also studied business as an additional subject.
This combination actually makes Rebecca sound like a strong candidate, because English suggests communication and writing skills, while business suggests practical knowledge for the workplace.
A simple example would be, my major was psychology, and my minor was sociology. That means psychology was the main field of study, and sociology was the smaller, secondary field.
Another example is, I majored in English and minored in business. This means the same thing as, my major was English and my minor was business. But it uses the verbs major in and minor in.
So you can say, my major was English, or I majored in English.
Both are natural. In an interview, I majored in English and minored in business sounds very clear and professional.
All right, the next word is distinction.
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 Distinction means a very high level of academic achievement. In many educational systems, especially in the UK, getting a distinction means you performed extremely well.
In the dialogue, the interviewer says, I'm pleased to see that you also got a distinction.
This means he is impressed because Rebecca didn't just complete her degree. She completed it with excellent results.
Right. He is saying, I see from your resume that you achieved a very high grade, and that's impressive.
This word is especially common when talking about academic results, exams, courses, or degrees.
A simple example would be, she passed the course with distinction. That means she didn't just pass. She passed with an excellent result.
Another example is, he received a distinction for his final project. That means his final project was evaluated very highly.
In a job interview, mentioning a distinction can help show that you are hardworking, disciplined, and academically strong.
Exactly. But it's important to talk about it naturally, without sounding like you're bragging.
Rebecca does that well. She accepts the compliment, but then explains that she has always enjoyed studying.
Next, let's look at the word bookworm.
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 A bookworm is a person who loves reading and spends a lot of time reading or studying.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, My friends say I'm a bit of a bookworm.
This means her friends think she really likes books and studying.
The phrase, a bit of a bookworm, makes it sound softer and more casual.
Right. If she said, I'm a bookworm, that's fine. But I'm a bit of a bookworm sounds more modest and conversational.
It can be a positive word, especially when talking about someone who enjoys learning.
A simple example would be, my sister is a bookworm. She reads a new novel every week. That means her sister really loves reading.
Another example is, I was a bit of a bookworm when I was in college. That means the person spent a lot of time reading or studying during college.
In Rebecca's case, this word helps explain why she did well academically.
Exactly. It gives her personality and makes her answer sound more human.
Good. The last expression for this section is, push someone to do something.
Push someone to do something.
Push someone to do something.
This expression means to strongly encourage or pressure someone to do something.
It can be positive or negative depending on the situation.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, My father always pushed us to succeed at school.
This means her father strongly encouraged her and her siblings to do well academically.
He probably expected them to study hard, get good grades, and take school seriously.
Exactly. In this context, pushed us doesn't mean physically pushing someone. It means motivating them or putting pressure on them.
A simple example would be, My coach pushed me to train harder. That means the coach encouraged or pressured the person to work harder in training.
Another example is, my parents pushed me to apply for a good university. That means the parents strongly encouraged the person to apply, maybe because they believed it would help their future.
So, push someone to do something often suggests that another person helped you move forward, even if it felt difficult at the time.
And in Rebecca's case, her father's encouragement seems to have had a positive result.
Right. That connects nicely to the next line in the dialogue, where the interviewer says his encouragement paid off.
Great! Now that we've covered those expressions, let's listen to the dialogue again and see if you can catch them naturally in context.
Now, if I look here, I see that you completed a BA in English.
Yes, that's right. After graduating from high school in New York, I attended York University in the UK. My major was English, and my minor was business. I completed my BA in 2004.
Yes, I'm pleased to see that you also got a distinction.
Yes, that's right. I've always enjoyed studying. My friends say I'm a bit of a bookworm, but my father always pushed us to succeed at school.
Well, it looks like his encouragement paid off, Rebecca. So how about extracurricular activities at university?
Well, I've always been keen on writing, so I became the editor for the university student newspaper, which I really loved. Also, I volunteered for a group called Shelter to help the homeless in New York.
What did that involve?
Providing warm meals and shelter, especially in the winter months. I found it really fulfilling to be part of that group.
I'm sure. Okay, now let's move on to your work experience, shall we?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Listening to it again, I noticed how smoothly Rebecca answers each question.
I noticed that too. She gives enough detail to sound interesting, but she doesn't talk for too long.
That's an important interview skill. You want to provide useful information without overwhelming the interviewer.
Exactly. And I think her examples help make her experiences feel real and memorable.
Definitely. The volunteer work especially helps paint a picture of who she is as a person.
All right, let's continue with a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Now, let's start with the phrasal verb, pay off.
Pay off.
Pay off.
Pay off means that your effort, hard work, patience, or encouragement produces a good result.
Right. It's often used when something took time or effort, but in the end, it was worth it.
In the dialogue, the interviewer says, "It looks like his encouragement paid off for Rebecca."
This means Rebecca's father encouraged her to work hard at school, and that encouragement produced a positive result.
Exactly. Rebecca enjoyed studying, completed a BA in English, and even got a distinction. So her father's encouragement helped her succeed academically.
So here, paid off does not mean paying money. It means had a successful result, or was worth it.
A simple example would be, all of her hard work paid off. That means she worked hard, and because of that, she got a good result.
Another example is, the extra training paid off when he won the race. This means he trained more than usual, and that effort helped him win.
So when you want to say that effort led to success, pay off is a very natural expression.
The next phrase is extracurricular activity.
Extracurricular activity.
Extracurricular activity.
An extracurricular activity is an activity that students do outside their regular classes.
Right. It's not usually part of the required academic course, but it can still be very important.
Examples include sports teams, student newspapers, volunteer groups, music clubs, debate teams, drama clubs, and student government.
In the dialogue, the interviewer asks, "So how about extracurricular activities at university?"
This means he wants to know what Rebecca did outside of her normal university classes.
He's not asking about her grades anymore. He's asking about her broader student life.
Exactly. Interviewers ask this kind of question because extracurricular activities can show personality, leadership, teamwork, communication skills, and motivation.
In Rebecca's case, she became the editor of the university student newspaper and volunteered for a group that helped homeless people.
Those are strong examples because they show both leadership and social responsibility.
A simple example would be, I joined several extracurricular activities at university. That means you participated in activities outside your normal classes.
Another example is, playing on the basketball team was my main extracurricular activity in high school. That means basketball was the main activity the person did outside regular school subjects.
In an interview, you can say, I was involved in several extracurricular activities, including volunteer work and student clubs.
That sounds natural, professional, and clear.
Nice. The next phrase is, be keen on doing.
Be keen on doing.
Be keen on doing.
Be keen on doing something means to be very interested in doing something, or to really enjoy doing it.
It's a common expression, especially in British English, but it's understandable in many English-speaking places.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I've always been keen on writing, so I became the editor for the university student newspaper."
This means Rebecca has always been very interested in writing. Because of that interest, she became the editor of the student newspaper.
So her interest naturally led to an activity.
Exactly. This is a nice way to connect your personal interest to your experience.
The structure is be keen on plus a noun or an ing verb.
For example, I'm keen on reading.
Or, I'm keen on learning new languages.
You can also use a noun. I'm keen on photography.
And a simple example would be, she's always been keen on helping others. That means she has always been very interested in helping people, and she probably enjoys doing it.
Another example is, he's keen on improving his communication skills. That means he is very interested in getting better at communication.
In an interview, this phrase can be useful when explaining why you chose a certain activity, subject, or career path.
For example, I've always been keen on business, so I decided to study marketing.
That sounds much more natural than just saying, I like business.
Great. The last word for today is fulfilling.
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 Fulfilling means emotionally satisfying, meaningful, or rewarding.
It's used when something gives you a deep sense of purpose or satisfaction.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I found it really fulfilling to be part of that group."
This means being part of the volunteer group made her feel that she was doing something meaningful.
Exactly. She wasn't just helping because she had to. She felt satisfied and happy because the work mattered.
This word is often used for work, volunteer activities, creative projects, teaching, helping others, or personal goals.
A simple example would be, teaching children is very fulfilling. That means teaching children gives the person a strong sense of satisfaction and meaning.
Another example is, I found volunteer work really fulfilling. That means the person felt that volunteering was meaningful and emotionally rewarding.
Now, let's also look at the structure find it plus adjective.
Yes. In Rebecca's sentence, she says, I found it really fulfilling to be part of that group.
The structure is find it plus adjective plus to do something.
It means, I felt that doing something was adjective.
So, I found it really fulfilling to be part of that group means I felt that being part of that group was really fulfilling.
This structure is very useful because it helps you describe your personal reaction to an experience.
For example, I found it difficult to speak in front of a large audience. That means speaking in front of a large audience felt difficult for me.
Another example is, I found it exciting to work with an international team. That means working with an international team felt exciting.
You can use many adjectives in this pattern. Difficult, easy, interesting, challenging, rewarding, stressful, useful, exciting, and fulfilling.
In interviews, this structure is especially helpful because it lets you explain not just what you did, but how you felt about it.
Exactly. Instead of only saying, I volunteered, Rebecca says it was fulfilling. That makes her answer more personal and memorable.
Great! Now that we've covered these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time and focus on how Rebecca talks about her education and activities naturally.
Now, if I look here, I see that you completed a BA in English.
Yes, that's right. After graduating from high school in New York, I attended York University in the UK. My major was English, and my minor was business. I completed my BA in 2004.
Yes, I'm pleased to see that you also got a distinction.
Yes, that's right. I've always enjoyed studying. My friends say I'm a bit of a bookworm, but my father always pushed us to succeed at school.
Well, it looks like his encouragement paid off, Rebecca. So how about extracurricular activities at university?
Well, I've always been keen on writing, so I became the editor for the university student newspaper, which I really loved. Also, I volunteered for a group called Shelter to help the homeless in New York.
What did that involve?
Providing warm meals and shelter, especially in the winter months. I found it really fulfilling to be part of that group.
I'm sure. Okay, now let's move on to your work experience, shall we?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
In episode 3, we learned about Rebecca's education and the experiences she gained during her university years.
She told us about earning a distinction in English, serving as the editor of the student newspaper, and volunteering to help people in need. Those experiences showed both her academic ability and her character.
Employers love hearing about experiences outside the classroom because they often reveal important skills like leadership, responsibility, and teamwork.
But after finishing university, the next big question is always, what did you do after graduation?
In the next episode, Rebecca begins talking about her professional career. You'll hear how she got her first job in journalism, how she started as an intern, and how her career gradually moved to the next level.
This part of the interview is especially useful because discussing your work experience is one of the most important parts of any job interview.
Let's find out how Rebecca's career began.
Here's episode 4.
Right, Rebecca. Now I see that after graduating from university, your first job was...
For a local paper in York called the York Herald. Actually, I started with them as an intern. I was really keen on getting some experience in journalism, and this seemed like a good first step.
Certainly. And after your internship?
They seemed impressed and offered me a position as a junior local news reporter. I ended up staying 2 years there, actually. I was in charge of the sports news section of the newspaper. I really enjoyed it there, and it really helped me build my skills.
Yes, I see. But you decided to leave them in 2006, right?
Yes, that's right. My husband and I moved to London, and so I managed to find a position with a national newspaper based in London.
The London Weekly, right?
Yes, in some ways it was a step down from my previous job, but it did offer me much better prospects for the future.
That was a really interesting conversation. Rebecca's career path feels very realistic.
I agree. She didn't jump straight into a high-level position. She started as an intern and gradually worked her way up.
I also like how she explained why she took each job. Interviewers often want to understand the reasoning behind career decisions.
That's right. Even when she moved to a role that was technically a step down, she saw the long-term potential.
Exactly. Thinking about future opportunities instead of short-term status is often a smart career move.
All right, now let's take a closer look at some useful expressions from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the word intern.
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 An intern is a person, usually a student or someone at the beginning of their career, who works for a company to gain practical experience.
Exactly. An intern may be paid or unpaid, depending on the company and the country. But the main purpose is to learn how the job works in the real world.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "Actually, I started with them as an intern."
This means that her first connection with the York Herald was not as a full-time reporter. She first joined the newspaper as someone who was learning and gaining experience.
Right. She didn't start at the top. She entered the company in an entry-level learning position.
And this is a very natural way to talk about the beginning of a career. For example, you could say, I started as an intern at a marketing company. That means you first worked at the marketing company to learn the job and gain experience, before possibly getting a regular position later.
Another related word is internship.
An internship is the period or program where someone works as an intern. So, the person is an intern, and the experience or program is an internship.
Exactly. In the dialogue, the interviewer says, "And after your internship?" This means, what happened after the period when you worked as an intern?
He wants Rebecca to explain the next step in her career after that learning period ended.
Here's another example. After my internship, the company offered me a full-time job. This means that after the person finished working there as an intern, the company decided to hire them as a regular employee.
That's a very common career path. You start as an intern, prove yourself, and then maybe get offered a position.
Great. Let's move on to our next word, journalism.
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 Journalism means the work of collecting, writing, editing, and reporting news for newspapers, magazines, websites, TV, radio, or other media.
So it's not just writing articles. It can include interviewing people, researching facts, reporting events, editing stories, and delivering information to the public.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I was really keen on getting some experience in journalism."
This means she really wanted to gain practical experience in the news and media industry.
Right. She was interested in becoming a journalist or working in the world of news, so working for a local paper was a good first step.
And as we talked about in a previous episode, the expression be keen on means to be very interested in something or enthusiastic about something.
Exactly. So, I was really keen on getting some experience in journalism means I was very interested in gaining experience in journalism.
It sounds natural, especially in British English. Since Rebecca studied and worked in the UK, this expression fits the dialogue very well.
Here's an example. She's keen on pursuing a career in journalism. This means she is very interested in building a career in the news or media field.
Another example could be, he studied journalism at university because he wanted to become a reporter. That means he studied how to research, write, and report news because his goal was to work as a reporter.
So when you hear journalism, think of newspapers, news websites, reporting, interviews, and sharing information with the public.
Now let's look at our third expression, end up doing something.
End up doing something.
End up doing something.
This is a very useful expression. End up doing something means that something finally happens, often as the result of a situation, process, or unexpected development.
Yes, it often describes the final result, especially when that result was not exactly planned from the beginning.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I ended up staying 2 years there, actually."
This means that in the end, she stayed at the York Herald for 2 years.
Maybe she didn't originally plan to stay exactly 2 years, but as things developed, that was the final result.
Right. She started as an intern, got offered a junior reporter position, and finally stayed there for 2 years.
The structure is very important. End up plus an ing verb.
For example, I ended up working late last night. This means that, in the end, I worked late. Maybe I didn't plan to, but that's what happened.
Another example is, she ended up moving to London for work. This means that, after everything happened, she finally moved to London because of her job.
You can also use it in everyday situations. We ended up eating at a small Italian restaurant. That means maybe you had other plans at first, but in the end, you ate at that restaurant.
So in Rebecca's sentence, I ended up staying 2 years there, she is naturally explaining the result of her first job experience.
Exactly. It's a very natural expression when telling stories about your career, your studies, your travels, or even your daily life.
All right, now that we've gone through these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time and see if you can catch them naturally.
Right, Rebecca. Now I see that after graduating from university, your first job was...
For a local paper in York called the York Herald. Actually, I started with them as an intern. I was really keen on getting some experience in journalism, and this seemed like a good first step.
Certainly. And after your internship?
They seemed impressed and offered me a position as a junior local news reporter. I ended up staying 2 years there, actually. I was in charge of the sports news section of the newspaper. I really enjoyed it there, and it really helped me build my skills.
Yes, I see. But you decided to leave them in 2006, right?
Yes, that's right. My husband and I moved to London, and so I managed to find a position with a national newspaper based in London.
The London Weekly, right?
Yes, in some ways it was a step down from my previous job, but it did offer me much better prospects for the future.
One thing that stood out to me was how proactive Rebecca was at the beginning of her career.
Definitely. She actively looked for opportunities to gain experience instead of waiting for the perfect job to appear.
And once she got her chance, she clearly made a good impression because the company offered her a full-time position.
That's a great reminder that internships can sometimes lead directly to permanent employment.
I also noticed that she gained leadership and responsibility by managing a section of the newspaper.
Right. Those kinds of experiences can become valuable talking points in future interviews.
All right, let's look at a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Now let's start with the phrase, in charge of.
In charge of.
In charge of.
In charge of means responsible for something. If you are in charge of something, you have the responsibility to manage it, organize it, or make decisions about it.
Exactly. It often means you are the person who takes care of a task, a project, a team, a department, or a specific area of work.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I was in charge of the sports news section of the newspaper."
This means Rebecca was responsible for the sports news section. She probably helped decide what sports stories to cover, organized the content, and maybe edited or wrote articles for that section.
Right. She wasn't just helping casually, she had a clear responsibility within the newspaper.
This is a very useful phrase in job interviews because it helps you explain your responsibilities naturally.
For example, I was in charge of training new staff. That means you were responsible for teaching new employees how to do their jobs.
You can also use it for smaller tasks. Who's in charge of booking the meeting room? That means, who is responsible for reserving the meeting room?
So remember, in charge of is a great phrase when you want to talk about responsibility in a natural and professional way.
Let's move on to the next expression. Manage to do something.
Manage to do something.
Manage to do something.
Manage to do something means to succeed in doing something, especially when it is difficult, challenging, or not guaranteed.
Yes. The important nuance is that there was some kind of effort, difficulty, or challenge, but in the end, you were able to do it.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I managed to find a position with a national newspaper based in London."
This means she was able to find a job at a national newspaper in London, even though it may not have been easy.
Right. She moved to London with her husband, so she needed to find a new job in a new city. Finding a position at a national newspaper was probably competitive.
So, managed to find sounds stronger than just found. It suggests that she made an effort and succeeded.
That's a really important point. I found a position simply states the fact.
But, I managed to find a position adds the feeling of achievement. It tells us that it took effort, or there was some difficulty.
For example, I managed to finish the report before the deadline. This means the report was probably difficult or the deadline was tight, but you succeeded in finishing it.
Another example is, we managed to catch the last train. This means it was close or difficult, but in the end, you caught the last train.
So in interviews, manage to do something is useful when you want to show that you overcame a challenge.
Now let's look at today's last phrase, in some ways.
In some ways.
In some ways.
In some ways means from some points of view or in certain respects.
Exactly. We use it when something is partly true, but not completely true from every angle.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "In some ways, it was a step down from my previous job, but it did offer me much better prospects for the future."
This means that from one point of view, her new job at the London Weekly was lower than her previous job.
Maybe she had less responsibility, a lower title, or fewer exciting tasks compared to her job at the York Herald.
But that was only one side of the story. From another point of view, the new job was a smart move because it gave her better future opportunities.
That's why, in some ways, is useful. It helps you explain a balanced opinion.
You are not saying it was completely bad. You are saying there were certain parts that felt like a step down.
And the phrase, "a step down," means a move to a lower position, lower status, or less impressive situation.
Then she says it offered much better prospects for the future.
Prospects means future possibilities or chances for success.
So, better prospects for the future means better opportunities to grow, succeed, or move forward in her career.
In Rebecca's case, even though the job may have seemed lower at first, working for a national newspaper in London could help her career in the long run.
Here's an example of in some ways. In some ways, working from home is easier, but it can also feel lonely. This means that from one point of view, working from home is easier. For example, you don't have to commute. But from another point of view, it has a downside.
Another example is, in some ways, this job is more stressful, but it gives me more opportunities. This means the job has both good and bad points. It may be stressful, but it can also help your future.
So, in some ways, is a great phrase when you want to sound balanced, thoughtful, and natural.
Exactly. It's especially useful in interviews because it lets you explain complicated decisions in a mature way.
All right. Now that we've covered these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time and focus on how Rebecca uses them naturally.
Right, Rebecca. Now I see that after graduating from university, your first job was...
For a local paper in York called the York Herald. Actually, I started with them as an intern. I was really keen on getting some experience in journalism, and this seemed like a good first step.
Certainly. And after your internship?
They seemed impressed and offered me a position as a junior local news reporter. I ended up staying 2 years there, actually. I was in charge of the sports news section of the newspaper. I really enjoyed it there, and it really helped me build my skills.
Yes, I see. But you decided to leave them in 2006, right?
Yes, that's right. My husband and I moved to London, and so I managed to find a position with a national newspaper based in London.
The London Weekly, right?
Yes, in some ways it was a step down from my previous job, but it did offer me much better prospects for the future.
In episode 4, Rebecca shared how her professional career began.
She explained how she started as an intern at a local newspaper, earned a full-time position through hard work, and later moved to London to continue building her journalism career.
It's a great reminder that many successful careers don't begin with a dream job. They begin with a willingness to learn and gain experience.
But getting a new job is only part of the story. Interviewers also want to know what happened while you were there and why you decided to move on.
In the next episode, Rebecca talks about her time at the London Weekly, the challenges she faced, how she earned a promotion, and why she eventually decided it was time for a new opportunity.
These are common interview questions, so you'll hear some excellent expressions for describing career growth, overcoming challenges, and explaining a career change in a positive and professional way.
Let's continue Rebecca's career journey.
Here's episode 5.
Okay, now I'd like to find out more about your last job. I see you spent almost 4 years at the London Weekly. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. To be honest, the first year was quite tough for me. I was really just treated more like an intern. I didn't have many responsibilities, and I found it quite frustrating.
So, what changed?
Well, slowly but surely I proved myself, and the new editor liked me, so he promoted me to features writer.
Wow, a real step up.
Yes, I was responsible for restaurant and food reviews mostly. I spent 3 years in that position. But to be honest, it wasn't an area of journalism I wanted to stay in long term.
I see. So why did you decide to leave finally?
I just felt that the paper couldn't offer me any new opportunities. I really needed a more challenging role, to be honest.
That was a really interesting conversation. Rebecca's experience probably feels familiar to a lot of people.
I agree. Starting a new job can be difficult, especially when you're not given much responsibility at first.
But I like how she didn't give up. She kept working hard and eventually earned the trust of her editor.
Exactly. That's a great example of proving yourself through consistent effort.
And once she got promoted, she gained much more responsibility and experience.
All right. Now let's take a closer look at some useful expressions from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the phrase, find out.
Find out.
Find out.
Find out means to learn information, discover information, or get information that you did not know before.
Exactly. It is often used when you want to know more about something, so you ask questions, check details, investigate, or look for information.
In the dialogue, the interviewer says, "I'd like to find out more about your last job."
This means, I'd like to learn more information about your most recent job.
Right. He is not saying he wants to physically search for Rebecca's last job, like looking for a lost object.
That's an important point. Some learners might hear find and think it simply means to locate something, but find out is different.
Exactly. Find can mean to locate something. For example, I found my keys. That means I located my keys.
But find out usually means to discover information. For example, I found out the meeting was canceled. That means I learned or discovered that the meeting was canceled.
So in the sentence, "I'd like to find out more about your last job," the interviewer wants Rebecca to explain more details about her previous position.
And yes, find out is very appropriate here, because an interview is all about learning more information about the candidate.
The interviewer already knows some basic facts. He can see that Rebecca worked at the London Weekly for almost 4 years.
But now he wants to find out more. He wants to know what she did there, what responsibilities she had, and why she left.
Here's an example. "I need to find out who is in charge of this project." This means the speaker does not know who is responsible for the project yet, so they need to get that information.
Another example is, she found out that the company was opening a new office. This means she learned or discovered new information about the company's plan.
So remember, find out is not just find. It means to discover or learn information.
Let's move on to the next phrase. More like?
More like.
More like.
More like means closer to one thing than another. We use it when we want to say that something is not exactly one thing, but it feels or seems closer to something else.
It helps us compare the real situation with another idea.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I was really just treated more like an intern."
This means that even though she was working at the London Weekly, people treated her as if she were closer to an intern than a proper journalist.
Right. Maybe her official job title was not intern, but the way people treated her felt like an intern.
She probably wasn't given important assignments, big responsibilities, or much independence.
So, more like an intern means not exactly an intern, but similar to an intern in treatment or responsibility.
That's why this phrase is useful. It lets you describe something that is not 100% true, but feels close to the truth.
For example, he's more like a mentor than a boss. This means he is technically the boss, but the way he supports and guides people feels closer to a mentor.
Another example is, the meeting felt more like a casual chat. This means it was officially a meeting, but the atmosphere was relaxed and informal, like a casual conversation.
So in Rebecca's sentence, "I was treated more like an intern," she is expressing that her role felt lower than she expected. It also helps show why she found the first year tough and frustrating.
Now let's look at the phrase, find it quite frustrating.
Find it quite frustrating.
Find it quite frustrating.
This phrase comes from the structure find it plus adjective.
The pattern is find it plus an adjective, and it means that you feel or think something is a certain way based on your experience.
For example, "I found it difficult." This means, "I felt that it was difficult," or "I experienced it as difficult."
Exactly. It is a very natural English pattern, especially when you are talking about your reaction to a situation.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I didn't have many responsibilities, and I found it quite frustrating."
This means that because she didn't have many responsibilities, she felt frustrated by the situation.
Frustrating means annoying or upsetting because something blocks you, limits you, or prevents you from doing what you want to do.
So Rebecca wanted to grow as a journalist, but she wasn't being given enough responsibility.
Right. She probably wanted to write more, take on bigger assignments, and prove her ability.
But instead, she felt stuck. That's why she says she found it quite frustrating.
The word quite makes the adjective a little stronger. So, quite frustrating means fairly frustrating or pretty frustrating.
This sentence is also very useful for job interviews because it lets you explain a negative experience in a calm and professional way.
Exactly. She doesn't say, I hated it, or it was terrible. She says, I found it quite frustrating.
That sounds more mature, balanced, and professional.
Here's an example. I found it difficult to adjust to the new system. This means the speaker felt that adjusting to the new system was difficult.
Another example is, she found it exciting to work with an international team. This means she felt excited by the experience of working with people from different countries.
So remember the pattern. Find it plus adjective. You can say, I found it useful. I found it challenging. I found it interesting. Or, I found it frustrating.
And in Rebecca's case, I found it quite frustrating means she felt frustrated because she wanted more responsibility, but she wasn't getting it.
Great! Now that we've looked at these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time.
Okay, now I'd like to find out more about your last job. I see you spent almost 4 years at the London Weekly. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. To be honest, the first year was quite tough for me. I was really just treated more like an intern. I didn't have many responsibilities, and I found it quite frustrating.
So, what changed?
Well, slowly but surely I proved myself, and the new editor liked me, so he promoted me to features writer.
Wow, a real step up.
Yes, I was responsible for restaurant and food reviews mostly. I spent 3 years in that position. But to be honest, it wasn't an area of journalism I wanted to stay in long term.
I see. So why did you decide to leave finally?
I just felt that the paper couldn't offer me any new opportunities. I really needed a more challenging role, to be honest.
One thing that stood out to me was Rebecca's patience.
Definitely. Many people would become discouraged if they spent a year doing basic tasks with very little responsibility.
But instead of complaining, she focused on improving and showing what she could do.
And eventually, her hard work paid off when she was promoted to features writer.
I also thought it was interesting that she left a position she was successful in.
That's true. Sometimes success isn't enough if the work no longer challenges you or helps you grow.
All right, let's take a look at a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Now let's start with the phrase, prove myself.
Prove myself.
Prove myself.
Prove myself means to show other people, through your actions or results, that you are capable, reliable, talented, or worthy of trust.
Exactly. It's not just saying, I can do this. It means you actually show your ability through your work.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, slowly but surely, I prove myself.
This means that over time, Rebecca showed her editor and coworkers that she was capable of doing better work.
Right. At first, she was treated more like an intern, and she didn't have many responsibilities.
But little by little, she probably worked hard, completed tasks well, wrote good pieces, and showed that she could be trusted.
That's why prove myself fits perfectly here. She had to demonstrate her ability before being given a better position.
Also, notice the phrase, slowly but surely. This means that progress was not fast, but it was steady and certain.
So, slowly but surely, I proved myself means that her progress took time, but she gradually earned respect and trust.
This expression is very useful when talking about career growth, especially when you started in a difficult or low-level position.
For example, I had to prove myself during my first year at the company. This means the speaker had to show their ability and reliability through their work during the first year.
Another example is, She proved herself as a strong team leader. This means she showed, through her actions and results, that she was a capable team leader.
You can also say, prove yourself to someone, like, he wanted to prove himself to his manager.
This means he wanted to show his manager that he was capable and trustworthy.
So remember, prove oneself is about showing your value through action, not just talking about your ability.
Let's move on to the next phrase. Be responsible for something.
Be responsible for something.
Be responsible for something.
Be responsible for something means to have the duty to take care of something, manage something, or make sure something is done properly.
Exactly. It's a very important phrase for job interviews because it helps you explain your duties and responsibilities clearly.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, I was responsible for restaurant and food reviews mostly.
This means that her main job was writing, managing, or handling restaurant and food review articles.
She probably visited restaurants, evaluated food and service, wrote reviews, and helped create content related to food.
The word mostly means mainly, or for the most part.
So, I was responsible for restaurant and food reviews mostly means that restaurant and food reviews were her main area of responsibility, although she may have done other tasks too.
This phrase is similar to be in charge of, which we studied in the previous episode.
Yes, be in charge of often sounds like you are managing or leading something.
Be responsible for can be a little broader. It can mean you are in charge, but it can also simply mean that a certain task is your duty.
For example, I was responsible for updating the company website. This means updating the company website was one of the speaker's duties.
Another example is, our team is responsible for customer support. This means the team's duty is to handle customer support.
So, in an interview, instead of saying only, I did restaurant reviews, Rebecca says, I was responsible for restaurant and food reviews.
That sounds more professional and clearly shows what area she handled.
Exactly. It's a great phrase for explaining your work experience.
Now let's look at the word role.
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 In a work or career context, role means a job, position, or function that someone has in an organization.
Exactly. It doesn't always mean a job title. It can also mean the kind of work you do, the responsibilities you have, and the part you play in a company.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, I really needed a more challenging role, to be honest.
This means Rebecca wanted a job or position that would push her more and help her grow.
Right. She didn't just want any new job. She wanted a role with more difficulty, more responsibility, and more opportunities to develop her skills.
Challenging can sometimes sound negative, but in this context, it is positive.
Exactly. A challenging role means a job that is difficult in a good way. It pushes you to improve.
Rebecca felt that the London Weekly could no longer offer her new opportunities, so she needed something that would help her move forward.
This is a very natural way to explain why you left a job in an interview.
Yes. Instead of saying, I was bored, or I didn't like the job anymore, she says, I needed a more challenging role.
That sounds positive, professional, and growth-focused.
Here's an example. I'm looking for a role where I can use my communication skills. This means the speaker is looking for a job or position that allows them to use their communication skills.
Another example is, this role requires strong leadership and problem-solving skills. This means this job or position needs someone who can lead people and solve problems well.
So remember, role is a very useful and professional word for talking about jobs, positions, responsibilities, and career goals.
And in Rebecca's sentence, I needed a more challenging role, means she wanted a position that would give her more growth, more responsibility, and more professional development.
Excellent. Now that we've reviewed these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time.
Okay, now I'd like to find out more about your last job. I see you spent almost 4 years at the London Weekly. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. To be honest, the first year was quite tough for me. I was really just treated more like an intern. I didn't have many responsibilities, and I found it quite frustrating.
So, what changed?
Well, slowly but surely I proved myself, and the new editor liked me, so he promoted me to features writer.
Wow, a real step up.
Yes, I was responsible for restaurant and food reviews mostly. I spent 3 years in that position. But to be honest, it wasn't an area of journalism I wanted to stay in long term.
I see. So why did you decide to leave finally?
I just felt that the paper couldn't offer me any new opportunities. I really needed a more challenging role, to be honest.
In episode 5, Rebecca explained how her career continued at the London Weekly.
Even though her first year was challenging, she stayed patient, proved herself, and eventually earned a promotion. She also explained her decision to look for a new opportunity in a very positive and professional way.
That's an important lesson for any interview. Employers don't just want to know where you've worked. They also want to understand your motivation and how you've grown throughout your career.
Now, the interview takes a more personal turn. Instead of asking about Rebecca's past experiences, Mr. Parsons wants to learn more about who she is as a person.
In the next episode, Rebecca talks about her strengths, her personality, and the qualities she believes make her a valuable employee.
You'll hear useful vocabulary and natural ways to describe your positive qualities with confidence, without sounding arrogant.
Let's see how Rebecca answers one of the most common interview questions.
Here's episode 6.
Okay, Rebecca, now you've given me a good idea of your work and academic background, but what about you as a person? How would you describe your key strengths?
Well, Mr. Parsons, as I mentioned before, I'm someone who needs new challenges. I'm really focused and hard-working. I think my academic results prove this.
Yes, true, but how about other personal qualities?
Well, I believe I'm a good team player, but I can also work well independently. I'm very enthusiastic and, well, I hope my colleagues would agree. I'm fun to work with.
What would you say is your most positive quality?
That's a tough question. But I would have to say my passion. I'm really passionate about journalism and passionate about my career.
That was a really strong interview answer.
I agree. Rebecca did a great job of highlighting both her professional strengths and her personal qualities.
Right. She didn't just focus on her achievements, she also explained what kind of person she is to work with.
That's something many candidates forget. Employers don't only hire skills, they hire people.
Exactly. All right, now let's take a closer look at some useful expressions from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the word strength.
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 Strength means something you are good at, or a positive ability or quality that you have.
Exactly. In everyday English, strength can also mean physical power, like having strong muscles. But in a job interview, it usually means your strong points as a person or worker.
Right. So when an interviewer asks about your strengths, they are not asking, how much can you lift?
They are asking, what are you good at? Or, what can you bring to this company?
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, how would you describe your key strengths?
This means, what are the most important things you are good at?
The word key means important or main. So key strengths means your most important strengths.
This is a very common job interview question. Interviewers ask this because they want to know how you see yourself and what value you can bring to the role.
Exactly. A good answer should not be too general. For example, if you only say, I'm a good person, that is too vague.
Right. It is better to mention specific strengths like, I'm organized, I'm a strong communicator, I'm reliable, or I work well under pressure.
And if possible, you should support your strength with an example or evidence.
That's exactly what Rebecca does. She says she is focused and hardworking, and then she says her academic results prove this.
So she doesn't just claim she has strengths, she gives evidence.
Here's an example. One of my strengths is my ability to stay calm under pressure. This means that the speaker is good at staying calm, even in stressful situations.
Another example is, communication is one of her biggest strengths. This means she is very good at explaining ideas, sharing information, and working with other people.
Let's move on to the next word. Focused.
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 Focused means able to give your full attention to something without getting distracted.
Exactly. A focused person can concentrate on a task, goal, or responsibility and keep working toward it.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I'm really focused and hardworking."
This means she is good at concentrating on her goals, and she works seriously and consistently.
Focused and hardworking are a very natural pair in an interview because they both describe a strong work attitude.
Right. Hardworking means someone puts in a lot of effort. Focused means someone knows what they need to do and stays concentrated on it.
So Rebecca is saying, "I work hard, and I don't easily lose sight of my goals."
That sounds very professional, especially because she is talking about journalism and her career.
Also, focused can describe both your mind and your behavior.
For example, he is focused on improving his writing skills. This means he is giving his time, energy, and attention to becoming a better writer.
Another example is, she stayed focused during the meeting. This means she kept paying attention and did not get distracted.
In a job interview, saying "I'm focused" can be positive, but again, it becomes stronger if you give evidence.
Yep, you could say, "I'm very focused. When I have a deadline, I plan my time carefully and make sure the work is completed properly."
That kind of answer shows the interviewer what focused looks like in real life.
So in Rebecca's sentence, "I'm really focused and hardworking," she is describing herself as someone who concentrates on her goals and puts in steady effort to achieve them.
Now let's look at the word academic.
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 Academic means related to school, university, studying, education, or learning.
Exactly. It often describes things connected to classes, grades, research, exams, or educational performance.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I think my academic results prove this."
This means she believes her school or university results show that she is focused and hardworking.
In other words, her good grades or strong educational achievements are evidence of those qualities.
Right. She is not saying, "Trust me, I'm focused." She is saying, "Look at my academic results. They show that I'm focused and hardworking."
That makes her answer stronger because she connects her personal qualities to real proof.
The phrase academic results usually means grades, exam scores, degree results, or overall performance in school or university.
For Rebecca, this probably refers to her strong university performance, including the fact that she graduated with distinction.
Exactly. So when she says, "My academic results prove this," she means her educational record supports what she is saying about herself.
Here's an example. She has a strong academic background. This means she has a good educational history. Maybe she studied at a good university, earned good grades, or completed advanced studies.
Another example is, his academic performance improved during his final year. This means his grades or results at school or university became better in his final year.
So remember, academic is connected to education and studying. And in an interview, academic results can be useful evidence when you want to show that you are disciplined, focused, or hardworking.
Now let's move on to the phrase personal quality.
Personal quality.
Personal quality.
A personal quality means a characteristic or trait that describes what kind of person someone is.
Exactly. It is not usually about technical skills. It is more about personality, attitude, behavior, and character.
For example, being honest, reliable, patient, friendly, confident, flexible, or enthusiastic can all be personal qualities.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "But how about other personal qualities?"
This means, you talked about being focused and hardworking, but what other positive traits do you have as a person?
He wants Rebecca to go beyond academic results and work performance.
He is asking about her personality and how she would fit into the workplace.
That is very important because companies do not only care about what you can do, they also care about how you work with people.
Exactly. Someone may have great skills, but if they are difficult to work with, that can become a problem.
So when Rebecca answers, she says she is a good team player, can work independently, is enthusiastic, and is fun to work with.
Those are all personal qualities because they describe her attitude and personality in the workplace.
Here's an example. Reliability is an important personal quality in this role. This means that being someone others can trust and depend on is important for this job.
Another example is, she has many positive personal qualities, such as patience and kindness. This means she has good character traits that make her a pleasant and trustworthy person.
So remember, personal quality means a personality trait or character strength.
And when an interviewer asks about your personal qualities, they want to understand not only what you can do, but also what kind of person you are to work with.
Great. Now that we've looked at those expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time.
Okay, Rebecca, now you've given me a good idea of your work and academic background, but what about you as a person? How would you describe your key strengths?
Well, Mr. Parsons, as I mentioned before, I'm someone who needs new challenges. I'm really focused and hardworking. I think my academic results prove this.
Yes, true, but how about other personal qualities?
Well, I believe I'm a good team player, but I can also work well independently. I'm very enthusiastic and, well, I hope my colleagues would agree, I'm fun to work with.
What would you say is your most positive quality?
That's a tough question. But I would have to say my passion. I'm really passionate about journalism and passionate about my career.
One thing that stood out to me was Rebecca's ability to describe herself in a very balanced way.
Definitely. She didn't list 10 different strengths. Instead, she focused on a few qualities and explained them clearly.
That's often much more effective in an interview.
I also liked how she mentioned being both a team player and an independent worker.
Right. Employers love hearing that because most jobs require both skills.
All right, let's look at a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Now let's start with the word independently.
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 Independently means by yourself, without needing someone else to constantly help you, guide you, or supervise you.
Exactly. In a work context, it means you can take responsibility for a task and complete it on your own.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I can also work well independently."
This means that Rebecca can do her work successfully, even when she is not working directly with a team.
Right. She is not saying she dislikes teamwork. Actually, just before this, she says she is a good team player.
That's an important point. Rebecca is showing balance. She can work well with other people, but she can also work well on her own.
And that is very attractive to employers because most jobs require both skills.
Exactly. Sometimes you need to collaborate with coworkers, share ideas, and support the team.
But at other times, you need to manage your own tasks, make decisions, and keep working without someone checking on you every minute.
So, work independently is a very useful phrase in interviews because it shows maturity, responsibility, and self-management.
Here's an example. This role requires someone who can work independently. This means the job needs a person who can handle tasks without constant instructions or supervision.
Another example is, after the training period, employees are expected to work independently. This means that after they receive training, Employees should be able to do the job on their own.
So, in Rebecca's sentence, I can also work well independently, she is saying. I can manage my responsibilities by myself and still produce good work.
Let's move on to the next word. Enthusiastic.
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 Enthusiastic means full of interest, excitement, and positive energy about something.
Exactly. If someone is enthusiastic, they are not just doing something because they have to. They show energy, motivation, and genuine interest.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, I'm very enthusiastic.
This means she brings energy and interest to her work and to the workplace.
In a job interview, enthusiastic is a positive word because employers usually want people who care about what they do.
Right. An enthusiastic employee is more likely to learn quickly, take initiative, and create a positive atmosphere.
But it's important to understand the nuance. Enthusiastic does not necessarily mean loud or overly excited.
Exactly. You can be calm and still be enthusiastic. It means you are genuinely interested and motivated.
For example, she is enthusiastic about learning new skills. This means she is interested in learning and has a positive attitude toward improving herself.
Another example is, the team was enthusiastic about the new project. This means the team felt excited, motivated, and positive about working on the project.
So when Rebecca says, I'm very enthusiastic, she is saying that she brings a positive, motivated attitude to her work. And in an interview, that helps show that she would not just do the job, but would do it with energy and interest.
Now let's look at the phrase, positive quality.
Positive quality.
Positive quality.
A positive quality means a good characteristic or strong personal trait that someone has.
Exactly. It is similar to personal quality, but positive makes it clear that we are talking about something good or beneficial.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons asks, what would you say is your most positive quality?
This means, what do you think is your best personal trait? Or, what is the best thing about you as a person?
This is another very common interview-style question.
Right. The interviewer is asking Rebecca to choose one strong personal quality and explain it.
That can be difficult because many people feel uncomfortable praising themselves.
Exactly. But in an interview, you need to be able to talk about your good qualities in a clear and professional way.
Notice the phrase, what would you say is? This makes the question a little softer and more natural than simply asking, what is your most positive quality?
Yes. What would you say is your most positive quality? Means, in your opinion, what is your best quality?
And Rebecca answers with, my passion. She chooses passion as the quality that best represents her.
Here's an example. His most positive quality is his honesty. This means honesty is one of the best things about him as a person.
Another example is, patience is a positive quality in a teacher. This means patience is a good and useful trait for someone who teaches.
So remember, a positive quality is a good personal characteristic.
And when an interviewer asks about your most positive quality, they want to know what personal strength makes you valuable or pleasant to work with.
All right, now let's move on to today's last phrase. Be passionate about.
Be passionate about.
Be passionate about.
Be passionate about means to have a very strong interest, love, or enthusiasm for something.
Exactly. It is stronger than simply saying, I like something.
If you are passionate about something, you care about it deeply and feel strongly motivated by it.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, I'm really passionate about journalism and passionate about my career.
This means she deeply cares about journalism and feels strongly motivated to build her career in that field.
Right. She is not just saying, I like journalism. She is saying that journalism matters to her personally and professionally.
In a job interview, this phrase can be powerful because it shows genuine motivation.
But it should sound sincere. If you say, "I'm passionate about everything," it can sound exaggerated.
Exactly. It is better to use this phrase for something you truly care about.
Also, the structure is important. We say passionate about something.
For example, she is passionate about helping customers. This means she really cares about supporting customers and enjoys doing it well.
Another example is, he is passionate about environmental issues. This means environmental issues are very important to him, and he has strong interest or concern about them.
So in Rebecca's sentence, "I'm really passionate about journalism and passionate about my career," she is saying that her strongest quality is her deep motivation and commitment.
And that helps the interviewer understand not only what she can do, but also why she wants to do it.
Excellent. All right, now that we've reviewed these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time.
Okay, Rebecca, now you've given me a good idea of your work and academic background, but what about you as a person? How would you describe your key strengths?
Well, Mr. Parsons, as I mentioned before, I'm someone who needs new challenges. I'm really focused and hardworking. I think my academic results prove this.
Yes, true, but how about other personal qualities?
Well, I believe I'm a good team player, but I can also work well independently. I'm very enthusiastic and, well, I hope my colleagues would agree, I'm fun to work with.
What would you say is your most positive quality?
That's a tough question. But I would have to say my passion. I'm really passionate about journalism and passionate about my career.
In episode 6, Rebecca did a great job describing her strengths and the qualities that make her a strong candidate.
She talked about being focused, hardworking, enthusiastic, and able to work both independently and as part of a team. She also shared her passion for journalism, which really stood out.
Talking about your strengths is important, but every interview has another question that many people find much more difficult.
That's right, the famous question about your weaknesses.
In the next episode, Rebecca explains one of her weaknesses honestly, while also showing that she's self-aware, responsible, and committed to doing her best.
This is a great example of how to answer a difficult interview question in a positive and professional way, without giving the interviewer the wrong impression.
Let's see how Rebecca handles one of the toughest questions in any interview.
Here's episode 7.
Okay, Rebecca. Well, I think you've given me a clear impression of your positive qualities, but let's talk a little bit about your weaknesses.
Okay, well, it's always more difficult to describe them, isn't it?
Definitely, but if you had to pinpoint one weakness, what would it be?
Well, as I mentioned before, I do tend to get frustrated if I don't see progress in my work or career. I suppose I'm quite a restless character. My father always taught me to be a high achiever,
So would you say if things don't go your way at work, it could easily get you down?
Well, in a way, yes. But I must say that even if I'm not completely happy in my work, I always give 110%. I would never shirk my responsibilities. I suppose sometimes I expect too much too soon.
Well, you know, journalism is a highly competitive world, so you do need to keep pushing yourself, it's true. Okay, well, let's move on to talk about the job position here, shall we?
Yes, please.
That was a very honest answer from Rebecca.
It was. What I liked most was that she didn't try to pretend she had no weaknesses.
Exactly. Some candidates try to avoid the question or give an unrealistic answer.
But Rebecca acknowledged a genuine weakness while also showing that she remains committed to her work.
Right. She admitted that she can become frustrated when progress is slow, but she also emphasized her strong work ethic.
That's often what interviewers want to hear. They want to know that you're aware of your weaknesses and actively managing them.
All right, let's take a closer look at some useful expressions from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the word weakness.
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 Weakness means a point where someone is not very strong or something they need to improve.
Exactly. It is the opposite of strength. A strength is something you are good at, and a weakness is something you struggle with or need to work on.
In a job interview, weakness does not usually mean a terrible personal flaw. It usually means an area for improvement.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "Let's talk a little bit about your weaknesses." This means, let's talk about the areas where you are not perfect or the things you still need to improve.
Notice that he says, a little bit. This makes the question sound softer and less direct.
Yes. Instead of saying, "Tell me everything that is wrong with you," he says, "Let's talk a little bit about your weaknesses."
That sounds much more polite and natural in an interview.
Also, in interviews, this question is not only about the weakness itself. The interviewer wants to see if you are self-aware.
Exactly. Self-awareness means you understand yourself clearly, including both your strengths and weaknesses.
A good answer should mention a real weakness, but it should also show that you are trying to improve.
For example, one of my weaknesses is that I sometimes take on too much work. This means the person sometimes accepts too many tasks or responsibilities.
But to make the answer stronger, you could add, "So I've been learning to prioritize my tasks more carefully."
That shows the interviewer that you know your weakness and you are actively working on it.
Another example is, "Public speaking used to be one of my weaknesses." This means speaking in front of people was difficult for the person before.
But the phrase used to be suggests that the person has improved or is improving. So remember, weakness means something you are not very strong at. But in an interview, it is best to treat it as an area for growth.
Let's move on to the next word. Pinpoint.
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 Pinpoint means to identify something very clearly and exactly.
Exactly. It is not just finding something in a general way. It means finding or naming the exact thing.
The word comes from the idea of pointing to a very small, specific point. So when you pinpoint a problem, you identify the exact problem.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "If you had to pinpoint one weakness, what would it be?" This means, if you had to choose one specific weakness, what would you say it is?
He is asking Rebecca not to speak too generally.
Right. He does not want her to say, "Well, I have many things to improve." He wants one clear answer.
This is common in interviews. Interviewers often want specific answers, not vague answers.
Exactly. Pinpoint one weakness means choose one weakness and clearly identify it.
For example, we need to pinpoint the cause of the problem. This means we need to find the exact reason the problem is happening.
Another example is, "It's hard to pinpoint exactly when the project started to go wrong." This means it is difficult to identify the exact moment when the project began having problems.
In Rebecca's case, she pinpoints her weakness as becoming frustrated when she does not see progress.
That is a specific answer. She does not just say, "I'm not perfect." She names the exact pattern she struggles with.
So, pinpoint is a useful word when you want to talk about identifying something clearly and precisely.
Now let's look at the phrase, "tend to do something."
Tend to do something.
Tend to do something.
Tend to do something means that someone usually or often does something, or has a natural habit or pattern.
Exactly. It does not mean the person does it every single time. It means there is a general tendency.
For example, if someone says, "I tend to wake up early," it means they usually wake up early, but not always.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I do tend to get frustrated if I don't see progress in my work or career." This means that Rebecca often becomes frustrated when she feels she is not moving forward professionally.
The phrase, "get frustrated," means to start feeling annoyed, disappointed, or impatient because something is not going well.
And progress means improvement or movement toward a goal.
So Rebecca is saying, when I don't feel like my work or career is improving, I often become frustrated.
Notice the word do in I do tend to get frustrated.
Good point. The do adds emphasis.
It makes the sentence sound more honest and direct, like she is admitting something.
Without do, she could say, I tend to get frustrated. That is still correct.
But I do tend to get frustrated sounds like, yes, I admit it. This is something that happens to me.
This is very natural in spoken English.
Here's an example. I tend to overthink things before making a decision. This means the person often thinks too much before deciding.
In an interview, that could be a weakness, but it can also show that the person is careful.
Another example is, she tends to work better under pressure. This means she usually performs well when there is stress or a deadline.
So remember, tend to do something is useful when you want to describe a habit, pattern, or common behavior without saying it happens 100% of the time.
All right, let's move on to the word restless.
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 Restless means unable to relax, stay still, or feel satisfied because you want movement, change, or progress.
Exactly. A restless person often feels like they need to do something, improve something, or move forward.
It can describe a physical feeling, like when you can't sit still, but it can also describe your personality or attitude.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, I suppose I'm quite a restless character. This means she thinks she is the kind of person who always wants progress, change, or a new challenge.
Character here means the kind of person she is.
Right. So, a restless character means a person who finds it hard to feel completely satisfied or settled.
In Rebecca's case, it connects to her ambition.
Exactly. She wants to move forward in her career. She wants to achieve things. That can be positive.
But it can also become a weakness if she becomes frustrated too quickly.
That is why this is a good interview answer. Her weakness is connected to a positive quality, ambition.
For example, he felt restless after doing the same job for 5 years. This means he started to feel uncomfortable or unsatisfied because he wanted a new challenge.
Another example is, she has a restless mind and is always looking for new ideas. This means she is always thinking, exploring, and looking for something new.
So, restless can sound negative if it means someone is impatient or never satisfied.
But it can also sound positive if it means someone is energetic, ambitious, and eager to grow.
In Rebecca's sentence, I suppose I'm quite a restless character, she is saying, I'm someone who always wants to keep moving forward.
And that helps explain why she gets frustrated when she does not see progress in her work or career.
Great. Now that we've looked at those expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time.
Okay, Rebecca. Well, I think you've given me a clear impression of your positive qualities, but let's talk a little bit about your weaknesses.
Okay, well, it's always more difficult to describe them, isn't it?
Definitely. But if you had to pinpoint one weakness, what would it be?
Well, as I mentioned before, I do tend to get frustrated if I don't see progress in my work or career. I suppose I'm quite a restless character. My father always taught me to be a high achiever,
So would you say if things don't go your way at work, it could easily get you down?
Well, in a way, yes. But I must say that even if I'm not completely happy in my work, I always give 110%. I would never shirk my responsibilities. I suppose sometimes I expect too much too soon.
Well, journalism is a highly competitive world, so you do need to keep pushing yourself, it's true. Okay, well, let's move on to talk about the job position here, shall we?
Yes, please.
One thing that stood out to me was how balanced Rebecca's answer was.
Definitely. She didn't spend the entire time talking about her weakness.
Right. She explained the weakness, but then she showed how she deals with it. I also thought it was interesting that her weakness comes from her ambition.
That's true. She wants to see progress and achieve results, which is generally a positive trait. But like many strengths, it can become a weakness if it's taken too far.
Exactly. That's why self-awareness is so important in interviews.
All right, let's look at a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Now let's start with the phrase high achiever.
High achiever.
High achiever.
A high achiever is someone who works hard and succeeds at a high level.
Exactly. A high achiever usually wants to do very well in school, work, sports, or any area of life.
This phrase is often used to describe someone who is ambitious, goal-oriented, and motivated to get strong results.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "My father always taught me to be a high achiever." This means that Rebecca's father raised her to aim high, work hard, and achieve excellent results.
Right. He probably taught her not to be satisfied with average results.
And this helps explain Rebecca's personality. She wants to see progress because she was taught to keep improving and keep achieving.
So in her case, being a high achiever is a strength, but it also connects to her weakness.
Exactly. Because she wants to achieve a lot, she can become frustrated when things move slowly.
For example, she has always been a high achiever at school. This means she has always worked hard and gotten excellent results in her studies.
Another example is, high achievers often set very high standards for themselves. This means people who want to succeed often expect a lot from themselves.
So remember, a high achiever is not just someone who succeeds. It is someone who strongly wants to succeed and usually works hard to make that happen.
Let's move on to the next phrase. Go one's way.
Go one's way.
Go one's way.
Go one's way means to happen the way someone wants or hopes.
Exactly. If things go your way, things happen in a good or favorable way for you.
But if things don't go your way, it means the situation does not happen how you wanted.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "So, would you say if things don't go your way at work, it could easily get you down?" This means, if things at work don't happen the way you want, do you become sad, discouraged, or frustrated easily?
The phrase get you down means to make you feel unhappy, discouraged, or emotionally low.
So Mr. Parsons is checking whether Rebecca's frustration affects her mood at work.
Right. He is basically asking, when work doesn't go as planned, does it affect you negatively?
For example, the interview didn't go my way. This means the interview did not happen as successfully as the person hoped.
Another example is, don't give up just because things don't go your way. This means you should not quit just because the situation is not going how you wanted.
So, go one's way is very useful for talking about results, plans, and situations.
And in Rebecca's case, the interviewer is asking whether slow progress or disappointing situations at work can bring her down emotionally.
Now let's look at the word shirk.
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 Shirk means to avoid doing something you should do, especially a duty or responsibility.
Exactly. It has a negative meaning.
If someone shirks their responsibilities, they avoid doing the work or duties they are supposed to do.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "I would never shirk my responsibilities." This means, I would never avoid my duties or run away from the work I am responsible for.
This is an important part of her answer.
Right. She admits that she can get frustrated, but she makes it clear that she still does her job properly.
In other words, even when she is unhappy or impatient, she does not become lazy or irresponsible.
Then she says, "I suppose sometimes I expect too much too soon."
This means she sometimes wants strong results or progress before enough time has passed.
So her weakness is not that she avoids work. Her weakness is that she may be too impatient for progress.
That makes her answer much stronger because she protects her professional image.
For example, he never shirks his responsibilities, even under pressure. This means he always does what he is responsible for, even when the situation is stressful.
Another example is, a good manager should not shirk difficult decisions. This means a good manager should not avoid making hard decisions.
So, shirk is a strong word, and it is often used with words like responsibility, duty, or obligation.
In Rebecca's sentence, I would never shirk my responsibilities, she is saying, you can trust me to do my work, even when things are difficult.
All right, let's move on to today's last phrase. Push oneself.
Push oneself.
Push oneself.
Push oneself means to make yourself work harder, try harder, or go beyond your comfort zone.
Exactly. It means you do not just do the easy thing. You challenge yourself to improve.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, journalism is a highly competitive world, so you do need to keep pushing yourself.
This means journalism is a field where many talented people are competing. So Rebecca needs to keep working hard and improving.
The phrase highly competitive means there is a lot of competition.
Right. In a highly competitive world, you cannot stay in the same place. You need to keep growing.
Notice the phrase, keep pushing yourself.
Keep means continue. So, keep pushing yourself means continue challenging yourself and continue trying to improve.
This connects well to Rebecca's personality. She is restless and ambitious, and Mr. Parsons is saying that those qualities may actually be useful in journalism.
Exactly. Her desire for progress could be a weakness in some situations, but in a competitive field, it can also be a strength.
For example, if you want to improve your English, you need to push yourself a little every day. This means you need to challenge yourself regularly, not just stay comfortable.
Another example is, she pushed herself to meet the deadline. This means she made herself work hard so she could finish on time.
So, push oneself is a great phrase for talking about effort, growth, discipline, and self-improvement.
And in this dialogue, Mr. Parsons is saying that journalism requires people who can keep challenging themselves.
Now that we've reviewed these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time.
Okay, Rebecca. Well, I think you've given me a clear impression of your positive qualities, but let's talk a little bit about your weaknesses.
Okay, well, it's always more difficult to describe them, isn't it?
Definitely. But if you had to pinpoint one weakness, what would it be?
Well, as I mentioned before, I do tend to get frustrated if I don't see progress in my work or career. I suppose I'm quite a restless character. My father always taught me to be a high achiever,
So would you say if things don't go your way at work, it could easily get you down?
Well, in a way, yes. But I must say that even if I'm not completely happy in my work, I always give 110%. I would never shirk my responsibilities. I suppose sometimes I expect too much too soon.
Well, you know journalism is a highly competitive world, so you do need to keep pushing yourself, it's true. Okay, well let's move on to talk about the job position here, shall we?
Yes, please.
In episode 7, Rebecca answered one of the most challenging interview questions, talking about her weaknesses.
She was honest about becoming frustrated when she doesn't see progress. But she also made it clear that she always gives her best and never avoids her responsibilities.
That's exactly what interviewers are looking for. They don't expect perfection. They want someone who understands their own weaknesses and is willing to keep improving.
Now that Mr. Parsons has learned about Rebecca's background, experience, strengths, and weaknesses, it's time for the interview to move in a different direction.
In the next episode, Rebecca has the chance to ask questions of her own about the position, the salary, and the company's benefits.
Remember, a good interview isn't just about answering questions. Asking thoughtful questions shows genuine interest, confidence, and professionalism.
Let's see what Rebecca wants to know before the interview comes to an end.
Here's episode 8.
Okay, well I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position.
Yes, well, Miss Childs did give me an overview of the position over the phone, but there were some details I'd like to clarify.
Well, feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to fill in the details.
Could I first ask about the remuneration package?
Yes, of course. That's quite an important point, isn't it? As a junior sub-editor, we offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also.
I understand. And are there other bonuses included?
Well, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers. But we could go through all the details of that at a later date.
Well, Mr. Parsons, I am flexible when it comes to salary. The opportunity to work in Hong Kong with your company is the most important thing for me.
Excellent. Well, what other questions do you have, Rebecca?
That was a very professional conversation.
It was. I especially liked how Rebecca asked about compensation in a polite and respectful way.
Right. Talking about salary can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but it's a completely normal part of the interview process.
Exactly. Employers expect candidates to ask questions about pay, benefits, and working conditions.
All right, let's break down some useful expressions from today's dialogue.
Now let's start with the word regarding.
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 Regarding means about or concerning.
Exactly. It is a slightly formal word, so you often hear it in business situations, emails, meetings, and interviews.
In casual conversation, people might simply say about, but in a professional setting, regarding sounds more polite and businesslike.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position."
This means, I'm sure you have several questions to ask me about the job.
Right. The position means the job Rebecca is applying for, so he is inviting her to ask questions about the job details.
Also, a number of questions means several questions. It doesn't mean one or two. It suggests that he expects her to have multiple questions.
That's very natural in a job interview. At the end of an interview, the interviewer often gives the candidate a chance to ask questions regarding the position, the company, or the hiring process.
For example, I have a question regarding the working hours. This means, I have a question about the working hours. It sounds polite and professional.
Another example is, she sent an email regarding the meeting schedule. This means she sent an email about the meeting schedule. Again, regarding makes the sentence sound more formal than about.
So remember, regarding means about, but it is especially useful when you want to sound professional.
Let's move on to the next word, clarify.
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 Clarify means to make something clear or easier to understand.
Exactly. If something is unclear, confusing, or not detailed enough, you can ask someone to clarify it.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "There were some details I'd like to clarify." This means, there are some points I want to understand more clearly.
She already received an overview of the position over the phone, but an overview is just a general explanation.
Right. An overview gives you the main points, but it may not include every detail.
So Rebecca is saying, I understand the general idea of the job, but I want to confirm or understand some specific details more clearly.
This is a very polite and professional way to ask questions. Instead of saying, "I don't understand," she says, "There are some details I'd like to clarify."
That sounds much softer and more mature.
For example, "Could you clarify the deadline for this project?" This means, could you make the deadline clear? Maybe the person knows there is a deadline, but they are not sure about the exact date or time.
Another example is, I'd like to clarify one point before we continue. This means the speaker wants to make one thing clear before moving forward.
So, clarify is a very useful word when you want to ask for a clearer explanation without sounding rude.
Now let's look at the phrase, feel free to do something.
Feel free to do something.
Feel free to do something.
Feel free to do something means, you can do it if you want, or please don't hesitate to do it.
Exactly. It is a friendly and polite expression that gives someone permission or makes them feel comfortable.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "Feel free to ask me anything." This means you can ask me anything. Or, "Please don't be nervous about asking questions."
He is making the atmosphere more relaxed.
Right. Salary, benefits, and job details can be sensitive topics, so he wants Rebecca to feel comfortable asking.
The phrase "feel free to" is very useful in business English.
For example, "Feel free to contact me if you have any questions." This means you can contact me anytime if you have questions. It sounds polite, helpful, and open.
Another example is, "Feel free to use the meeting room this afternoon." This means, it's okay for you to use the meeting room this afternoon.
One important point is that "feel free to" is usually followed by the base form of a verb.
Right. Feel free to ask. Feel free to contact me. Feel free to use it. Feel free to join us.
So in interviews, meetings, and emails, "feel free to" is a great phrase for creating a friendly and professional tone.
Let's move on to the phrase, "fill in the details."
Fill in the details.
Fill in the details.
Fill in the details means to add missing information or explain the parts that have not been explained yet.
Exactly. Imagine you already have the big picture, but some small parts are still missing. To fill in the details means to complete the explanation.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "I'll try to fill in the details." This means, I'll try to give you the extra information you still need.
Rebecca already received an overview from Ms. Childs, but an overview is not complete.
Right. So Mr. Parsons is saying, "Ask me anything, and I'll try to explain the specific details that were not covered before."
This phrase is often used when someone already understands the general situation, but needs more specific information.
For example, the manager gave us the general plan, and the team leader filled in the details. This means the manager explained the main idea, and the team leader added the specific information such as dates, tasks, and responsibilities.
Another example is, "I know the basic story, but can you fill in the details?" This means, "I understand the general story, but can you tell me the missing parts?"
Now, in the dialogue, we also hear another phrase, "go through the details."
Mr. Parsons says, "We could go through all the details of that at a later date."
Go through the details means to review or discuss the details carefully, often step by step.
So, fill in the details focuses on adding missing information.
But go through the details focuses on reviewing or explaining the details carefully from beginning to end.
For example, if Rebecca has only a general idea of the bonus scheme, Mr. Parsons can fill in the details by giving her more information.
But if they sit down later and discuss every rule, condition, and calculation of the bonus scheme, they are going through the details.
That's a very useful difference.
So remember, fill in the details means add the missing information. Go through the details means discuss or review the details carefully.
Now let's look at the word remuneration.
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 Remuneration means payment or compensation that someone receives for their work.
Exactly. It is a formal business word. In everyday conversation, people usually say pay or salary.
But in professional situations, especially when talking about contracts, job offers, or executive positions, remuneration is common.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "Could I first ask about the remuneration package?"
This means, could I first ask about the full compensation package for this job?
And remuneration package usually includes more than just salary.
Right. It can include salary, bonuses, housing allowance, health insurance, pension plans, and other benefits.
That's why Rebecca doesn't simply ask, "What is the salary?" She asks about the remuneration package.
It sounds more professional, and it shows that she is asking about the full set of financial benefits connected to the job.
For example, the company offers a competitive remuneration package. This means the company offers attractive pay and benefits compared with other companies.
Another example is, remuneration will depend on experience and qualifications. This means the amount of pay or compensation will change depending on the person's background, skills, and education.
So, remuneration is a formal word for pay or compensation, and remuneration package means the full set of money and benefits a person receives for doing a job.
All right, now that we've reviewed these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position.
Yes, well, Miss Childs did give me an overview of the position over the phone, but there were some details I'd like to clarify.
Well, feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to fill in the details.
Could I first ask about the remuneration package?
Yes, of course, that's quite an important point, isn't it? As a junior sub-editor, we offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also.
I understand. And are there other bonuses included?
Well, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers. But we could go through all the details of that at a later date.
Well, Mr. Parsons, I am flexible when it comes to salary. The opportunity to work in Hong Kong with your company is the most important thing for me.
Excellent. Well, what other questions do you have, Rebecca?
One thing that stood out to me was how prepared Rebecca seemed.
Definitely. She clearly did her research before the interview and already knew some information about the position.
Right. She wasn't asking random questions. She was asking thoughtful questions that helped her better understand the offer.
That's something interviewers usually appreciate. It shows genuine interest in the role.
All right, let's look at a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Now let's start with the word annum.
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 Annum means year.
Exactly. But annum is a formal word, and it is most commonly used in the phrase per annum.
Per annum means per year or each year.
In everyday conversation, people usually say a year. But in business, finance, contracts, and salary discussions, per annum is very common.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "We offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum." This means the starting salary is 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per year.
So Rebecca would earn 150,000 Hong Kong dollars in 1 year before considering other benefits like housing allowance or bonuses.
Right. Starting salary means the salary someone receives when they first begin the job.
That's an important point. It suggests that the salary may increase later, depending on performance, experience, or company policy.
For example, the position pays $45,000 per annum. This means the job pays $45,000 each year.
Another example is, employees receive 20 days of paid vacation per annum. This means employees receive 20 days of paid vacation each year.
So remember, annum means year, and per annum is a formal way to say per year.
Let's move on to the next phrase, housing allowance.
Housing allowance.
Housing allowance.
A housing allowance is money that a company gives an employee to help pay for housing.
Exactly. It can help cover rent, apartment costs, or other living expenses related to housing.
The word allowance means money given for a specific purpose.
Right. So, a housing allowance is not just extra money for anything. It is money specifically connected to housing.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also." This means the starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum is separate from the housing allowance.
In other words, Rebecca would receive the salary, and on top of that, she would also receive support for housing.
And he says, generous housing allowance. Generous means large, good, or more than expected.
So the company is offering a strong housing benefit, which is especially important because Rebecca would be moving to Hong Kong.
For example, the company provides a housing allowance for employees working overseas. This means the company gives money to employees who live and work in another country, so they can pay for housing.
Another example is, her housing allowance covers most of her rent. This means the money she receives for housing is enough to pay for most of her rent.
So, housing allowance is a very useful phrase when talking about international jobs, relocation, or company benefits.
Now let's look at the phrase, apart from.
Apart from.
Apart from.
Apart from can mean in addition to or except for, depending on the context.
Exactly. This is why learners need to pay attention to the sentence.
Sometimes, apart from introduces something that is included as an extra point.
For example, apart from salary, the company offers health insurance. This means, in addition to salary, the company offers health insurance.
But sometimes, apart from means except for.
For example, apart from one mistake, your report was excellent. This means, except for one mistake, your report was excellent.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers.
Here, apart from means in addition to.
So, he is saying, in addition to full health insurance, we also offer a company staff bonus scheme.
Full health insurance means the company provides strong medical insurance coverage.
And we do offer uses do for emphasis.
Right. He is emphasizing that the company really does offer a bonus scheme.
The bonus scheme is linked to readership numbers.
This means the bonus is connected to how many readers the publication has.
So if readership numbers are strong, the staff bonus may be better.
For example, apart from the base salary, employees receive a yearly bonus. This means employees receive a yearly bonus in addition to their regular salary.
Another example is, apart from the long commute, I really like this job.
Here, apart from means except for. The person likes the job, but the long commute is the one negative point.
So remember, apart from can mean in addition to or except for. The meaning depends on the context.
Finally, let's look at the phrase, when it comes to.
When it comes to.
When it comes to.
When it comes to means regarding, about, or in the area of.
Exactly. We use it when we want to introduce a topic or focus on one specific area.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, I am flexible when it comes to salary.
This means, regarding salary, I can be flexible, or salary is something I'm willing to discuss.
She is saying that salary is not her only priority.
Right. She wants to show that the opportunity to work in Hong Kong with the company is more important to her than getting the highest possible salary.
This is a very professional answer because she does not sound demanding.
Exactly. She still asks about the remuneration package, but she also shows openness and enthusiasm.
For example, when it comes to teamwork, communication is very important.
This means, in the area of teamwork, communication is very important.
Another example is, she is very careful when it comes to money.
This means she is careful about money or financial decisions.
We can use this phrase with many topics. When it comes to work, when it comes to learning English, when it comes to customer service, and when it comes to salary.
So remember, when it comes to is a natural way to introduce a topic and say, about this particular area.
Great! Now that we've reviewed these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have a number of questions to ask me regarding the position.
Yes, well, Miss Childs did give me an overview of the position over the phone, but there were some details I'd like to clarify.
Well, feel free to ask me anything, and I'll try to fill in the details.
could I first ask about the remuneration package?
Yes, of course. That's quite an important point, isn't it? As a junior sub-editor, we offer a starting salary of 150,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. This doesn't include a generous housing allowance also.
I understand. And are there other bonuses included?
Well, apart from full health insurance, we do offer a company staff bonus scheme linked to readership numbers. But we could go through all the details of that at a later date.
Well, Mr. Parsons, I am flexible when it comes to salary. The opportunity to work in Hong Kong with your company is the most important thing for me.
Excellent. Well, what other questions do you have, Rebecca?
In episode 8, Rebecca had the opportunity to ask her own questions about the position.
She asked about the salary, benefits, and remuneration package, but what really impressed me was her attitude. She made it clear that the opportunity to work for the company was more important to her than the salary itself.
That's a wonderful way to finish that part of the interview. It showed genuine enthusiasm and a real interest in the role.
And now we've reached a very special moment.
That's right. What you're about to hear is episode 9, the final chapter of the job interview series.
This episode has never been released before, so you're among the very first people to hear how Rebecca's interview comes to an end.
You'll hear the final conversation between Rebecca and Mr. Parsons, including what happens next, when she'll receive the company's decision, and how they bring the interview to a professional close.
So without further ado, let's listen to the final episode.
Well, Rebecca, is there anything else you need to know for now?
I don't think so, Mr. Parsons. I think you have covered all the main points for me.
Okay, well, listen. Here's my business card with my mobile number. If any other questions spring to mind, don't hesitate to contact me. Of course, you can also call Miss Childs, too.
Great. When can I expect to hear from you?
Well, we are finishing the short list interviews tomorrow, so we will certainly have a decision made by early next week. Miss Childs will call you to discuss more on Monday or Tuesday. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me, Mr. Parsons.
The pleasure's all mine, Rebecca.
I hope to hear from you very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, Rebecca. Goodbye.
That was a really professional way to end an interview.
Absolutely. Rebecca stayed polite, asked about the hiring timeline, and thanked Mr. Parsons for his time.
I also liked how Mr. Parsons encouraged her to contact him if any questions came up later.
Right. Offering a business card and inviting follow-up questions creates a welcoming and professional atmosphere.
Rebecca didn't leave without asking when she could expect to hear back either. That's a very natural question at the end of an interview.
Now let's break down some useful expressions from today's dialogue.
Let's start with the phrase, business card.
Business card.
Business card.
A business card is a small card that has someone's professional information on it.
Right. It usually includes the person's name, company name, job title, phone number, email address, and sometimes the company's address or website.
In business situations, people often exchange business cards when they meet for the first time.
Exactly. In today's dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "Here's my business card with my mobile number."
This means he is giving Rebecca his card, and his personal work phone number or mobile number is written on it.
So he is basically saying, "You can use this card to contact me if you need to."
That's right. It's a polite and professional way to keep the communication open after the interview.
And because this is a job interview, giving her his business card also shows that the interview has gone smoothly and professionally.
Let's look at an example. He gave me his business card after the meeting. This means that after the meeting, he gave me a card with his name and contact information on it.
Exactly. It suggests that we may contact each other again in the future.
Another example would be, do you have a business card? This means, do you have a card with your professional contact information?
Great. So remember, a business card is not just a card. In professional settings, it is a tool for networking and future communication.
All right. The next phrase is spring to mind.
Spring to mind.
Spring to mind.
Spring to mind means to suddenly appear in your thoughts.
Exactly. It's often used when an idea, question, memory, or name comes to you naturally and suddenly.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "If any other questions spring to mind."
This means, if you suddenly think of any other questions later,
Rebecca may not have any questions at that exact moment, but after she goes home, she might remember something she wants to ask.
and spring gives the feeling that the thought appears quickly or suddenly.
Exactly. It's more natural and vivid than just saying, "If you think of any questions."
For example, his name didn't spring to mind right away. This means I couldn't remember his name immediately. His name did not suddenly appear in my mind.
Another example is, when I think of Italian food, pizza immediately springs to mind. That means pizza is the first thing I think of when I hear Italian food.
So in an interview situation, if any questions spring to mind is a polite and natural way to say, "If you think of anything later."
Now let's look at the word hesitate.
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 Hesitate means to pause or feel unsure before doing something.
Right. You might hesitate because you are nervous, worried, embarrassed, or not sure if it is okay to do something.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, "If any other questions spring to mind, don't hesitate to contact me."
This means, if you think of any other questions later, please feel free to contact me.
Exactly. Don't hesitate to is a very common, polite expression in business English.
It means, please don't feel nervous about doing this, or please feel free to do this.
So, don't hesitate to contact me means, please contact me anytime if you need to.
It sounds professional, kind, and welcoming.
You'll often hear this in emails, interviews, customer service, and formal conversations.
For example, if you need any help, don't hesitate to ask. This means, if you need help, please feel free to ask me.
Another example is, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any concerns. This means, please contact me if you have any worries or questions.
And reach out is another common business expression that means contact someone.
Good point. So you can say, don't hesitate to contact me, or don't hesitate to reach out.
Both are natural, but reach out can sound a little warmer and more modern.
Great! Now that we've gone over these expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one more time.
Well, Rebecca, is there anything else you need to know for now?
I don't think so, Mr. Parsons. I think you have covered all the main points for me.
Okay, well, listen. Here's my business card with my mobile number. If any other questions spring to mind, don't hesitate to contact me. Of course, you can also call Miss Childs, too.
Great. When can I expect to hear from you?
Well, we are finishing the short list interviews tomorrow, so we will certainly have a decision made by early next week. Miss Childs will call you to discuss more on Monday or Tuesday. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me, Mr. Parsons.
The pleasure's all mine, Rebecca.
I hope to hear from you very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, Rebecca. Goodbye.
One thing that stood out to me was how confident Rebecca sounded without being overly formal.
I agree. She expressed appreciation, asked an important question about the next steps, and ended the conversation on a positive note.
Mr. Parsons also clearly explained what would happen next, which helps reduce the candidate's uncertainty.
Exactly. Clear communication is something both interviewers and candidates should aim for. And ending the interview with kindness leaves a lasting impression on everyone involved.
All right, let's look at a few more useful expressions before our final listening.
Let's start with the phrase, hear from.
Hear from.
Hear from.
Hear from means to receive communication from someone.
Right. It can mean receiving a phone call, an email, a message, or any kind of response from that person.
In the dialogue, Rebecca asks, "When can I expect to hear from you?"
This means, when can I expect to receive a response from you? Or, when will you contact me?
Exactly. It's a very natural and professional question to ask at the end of an interview.
And notice that she doesn't say, when will you call me? She says, when can I expect to hear from you?
That's a little broader. It could be a phone call, an email, or another form of communication.
Later, Rebecca also says, I hope to hear from you very soon.
This means, I hope you contact me soon, or I hope I receive good news from you soon.
In a job interview, this phrase sounds polite, positive, and professional.
Let's look at an example. I haven't heard from the company yet. This means the company has not contacted me yet. Maybe I applied for a job, but I haven't received an email or phone call.
Another example is, it was great to hear from you. This means, I was happy to receive your message, or I was happy that you contacted me.
So remember, hear from someone does not mean simply hearing someone's voice.
Exactly. It usually means receiving communication from that person.
All right, the next word is certainly.
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 Certainly means definitely or without doubt.
Right. It is used when the speaker wants to sound sure, clear, or confident.
In the dialogue, Mr. Parsons says, we will certainly have a decision made by early next week. This means we will definitely have made a decision by early next week.
In other words, he is telling Rebecca that the company is sure they will decide by that time.
Exactly. Certainly makes the sentence sound more confident and professional than just saying, we will have a decision.
Also, by early next week means no later than the beginning of next week.
Good point. So Mr. Parsons is saying that the decision will be ready before or around Monday or Tuesday of the next week.
Let's look at an example. We will certainly contact you if we need more information. This means, we will definitely contact you if we need more information.
Another example is, this experience will certainly help you in your future career. This means the experience will definitely be useful for your future career.
So, certainly is a useful word when you want to sound sure, polite, and professional.
Now let's look at the phrase, the pleasure's all mine.
The pleasure's all mine.
The pleasure's all mine.
The pleasure's all mine is a polite expression used when someone thanks you or says it was nice to meet you.
Right. It means, I was the one who was happy, or I enjoyed it too.
In the dialogue, Rebecca says, "Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me, Mr. Parsons."
And Mr. Parsons replies, the pleasure's all mine, Rebecca.
This means, I was very happy to speak with you, or I should be the one thanking you.
It's a warm and polite way to respond to someone's thanks.
The word pleasure means a feeling of happiness, enjoyment, or satisfaction.
So literally, the pleasure is all mine means all the enjoyment belongs to me.
Of course, we don't usually translate it literally. The natural meaning is more like, it was my pleasure.
Let's look at an example. If someone says, thank you for meeting with me today.
You can say, the pleasure's all mine. In this situation, you are saying, I was happy to meet with you.
Another example. If someone says, it was great talking with you.
You could reply, the pleasure's all mine. This means, I also enjoyed talking with you, but in a more polite and elegant way.
You can also say, my pleasure, which is shorter and very common.
That's right. My pleasure is natural in both casual and professional situations.
But the pleasure's all mine sounds a little more formal, warm, and graceful.
Excellent. Now that we've reviewed those expressions, let's listen to the dialogue one final time.
Well, Rebecca, is there anything else you need to know for now?
I don't think so, Mr. Parsons. I think you have covered all the main points for me.
Okay, well, listen. Here's my business card with my mobile number. If any other questions spring to mind, don't hesitate to contact me. Of course, you can also call Miss Childs, too.
Great. When can I expect to hear from you?
Well, we are finishing the short list interviews tomorrow, so we will certainly have a decision made by early next week. Miss Childs will call you to discuss more on Monday or Tuesday. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me, Mr. Parsons.
The pleasure's all mine, Rebecca.
I hope to hear from you very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming, Rebecca. Goodbye.
All right, that's the end of Rebecca's interview journey.
Congratulations on making it all the way through the complete job interview series. We hope you enjoyed following Rebecca's story from beginning to end.
Throughout these 9 episodes, we've covered many of the questions you're likely to hear in a real job interview. From making a strong first impression and introducing yourself to talking about your education, work experience, strengths, weaknesses, and even discussing salary and benefits, you've practiced a wide range of practical English.
More importantly, you've also heard how a real conversation develops naturally. Interviews aren't just a list of questions and answers. They're conversations, and understanding that flow is one of the keys to sounding more confident in English.
If you've watched this series only once, we'd strongly encourage you to come back and listen again. Each time you revisit the dialogues, you'll notice new expressions, understand more without translating, and build stronger listening skills.
One of the best ways to study is to pause the video, repeat Rebecca's lines aloud, and imagine you're the one sitting in the interview. Shadowing and role-playing like this will help you develop both your fluency and your confidence.
We hope Rebecca's journey has shown you that successful interviews aren't about using difficult vocabulary. They're about communicating clearly, honestly, and professionally.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for learning with us throughout this entire journey.
If you enjoyed this series, we'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a thumbs up and leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear which episode or expression was your favorite.
And if this series helped you improve your English, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any future lessons here on Fluent Path English.
Keep learning, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next lesson.
Bye.